Chapter 11:16. When the moon rose, Li Longji finally saw that it was a full moon. He felt that the moon was rising from the sea and sharing this moment with the world. At the same time, he also saw what a lighthouse looked like. In the past, he only saw paintings and small models. In the Xingqing Palace in Beijing, there was a model of a lighthouse. It was very small and made of wood. It floated in the water, and candles could be placed on it. At night, it could be seen swaying. He knew that it was a place that was specially used to guide the way. Seeing it with his own eyes today, he felt that he had been tricked. He asked Zhang Xiaobao, "Xiaobao, why is this lighthouse different from the one you gave me?" "Different? Of course, one is big and one is small. One stands in the sea, and the other is placed in fresh water." Zhang Xiaobao and Wei Wei were stunned for a moment, but then said calmly, "That's not what I meant. It's just that the lighthouse you gave me was floating on the water. This lighthouse is motionless. At first, I wondered if there were two kinds of lighthouses. One is on an island, and the other is like a ship. After all, it's not easy to find an island or a big reef in the sea. Now that I have seen the situation in the sea, I think it's very difficult to build a floating lighthouse. Even the biggest ship can't withstand the wind and waves if it stands on the sea all day long." Li Longji emphasized. What he meant was, "Xiaobao, why did you lie? If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I would have thought that there were two types of lighthouses. If I told others about it in the future and they saw it, wouldn't they laugh at me in their hearts?" Zhang Xiaobao looked at Li Longji in surprise, then at Gao Lishe. Gao Lishe nodded and admitted. "Is there a floating lighthouse?" Zhang Xiaobao asked Wang Wan. Wang Wan rolled her eyes at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "Do you think it's a drilling platform? The quality of your gift is not good enough. The glue at the bottom is broken." "Oh, Your Majesty, did you hear that? It's not floating. It's because your management is not up to standard, so the glue on the base broke. Go back and get someone to glue it again. Remember to maintain it often." Zhang Xiaobao shifted the blame. Li Longji nodded but did not pursue the matter. He couldn't possibly return to Beijing and kill the person who was in charge of the model. Furthermore, he felt that Zhang Xiaobao wasn't good at business and didn't give him a warranty. He was now more interested in the drilling platform that Wang Wan had mentioned. He asked, "What is a drilling platform? Fighting in the sea to find fresh water?" "I'm looking for oil. Fresh water isn't worth that much." Zhang Xiaobao explained, "There's a lot of oil in the sea around Great Tang. It's much better than the oil we can find on the ground, and there's a lot more of it. We don't have to travel very far and wait to occupy other people's original land for long-distance transportation." "Oh, there's oil under the sea? Quick, come out. I can pay for it." Li Longji got excited. He knew about the Ministry of Works and knew that they were refining oil in large quantities. He found it amazing that oil could be used for more than just fuel. Although he was satisfied with the oil refining technology, he talked to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan every time. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan couldn't stand the current oil refining technology anymore. They said that if the amount of oil refined was small, it would cause a lot of pollution. During the refining process, there was a lot of waste. The refrigeration technology could only reduce the temperature to 0 degrees Celsius. Many things were not collected. It wasn't that they didn't want to collect them, but they were afraid that if the oil was stored in a container, it would explode before they could collect enough gas. Not to mention the other chemical products. Another reason was that oil was not easy to extract. Other than the oil that could flow out by itself, the rest of the oil had to be dug and filled with barrels before being brought up. With such advanced technology, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could only look at it helplessly. Li Long had always wondered if there was a better source of oil that would make it easier for people to produce it. At this moment, he was thinking about the oil under the sea. Not only him, Empress Wang and the rest were also looking at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Gao Lishe spoke. "Xiaobao, is it more tiring than digging holes? That's why you don't intend to look for oil under the sea?" "It's more than tiring. I have always wanted to get oil under the sea. With this shipbuilding technology, I will go to other places and extract oil from land." Anyway, we will use pressure to extract oil from land, and it is much easier to extract oil from land. This is just a dream. Let's wait. When our descendants do this, I probably won't be able to see it. Unless countless geniuses are born in the Great Tang, and if they don't take any detours, when I'm old, I'll be able to see oil and natural gas continuously being extracted from the sea. For now, let's just watch the lighthouses. The people guarding the lighthouses will not be able to guess who is coming. Zhang Xiaobao said helplessly and regretfully. He did not have much hope in extracting oil from the sea. They did not even have the simplest shipbuilding technology. If they had that technology, Tang could easily conquer the sea. At least relatively speaking, there would be fewer deaths. In fact, they could also conquer the sea now by using countless ships and countless lives. In the era of sailing ships, it could be said that they could conquer the sea, not to mention the second generation of steam engines. With a bigger tonnage, coupled with a sail, it would be much more powerful than the Spanish. Most importantly, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan could draw a map of the ocean currents to prevent the ships from running around blindly. At the same time, they could take various precautions at sea. The only thing they had to worry about was the weather. This could not be helped. Even in the era of satellites, there were still ship accidents. As for the reefs, it was easy to deal with them. The ships did not move alone. Every time they went out, it was a group of ships. Furthermore, they could not be fully loaded. If a ship hit the reefs, they would first transfer the people out and see if they could take out the goods. The other ships would then go around and mark the reefs. Through continuous trials, they could always find a safe route. It would be even better if someone could create a sonar system. While Zhang Xiaobao was thinking about the good things in the future, the ship had already docked at the small pier of the lighthouse. The small pier could only stop medium-sized ships. Large ships could not get close, otherwise, they would really hit the reefs. Even medium-sized ships had to be carefully controlled and docked at the spot where people dived. Usually, large ships would not resupply at the lighthouse. They would only use the light of the lighthouse to locate the ship at night. Occasionally, when they needed to resupply, it would be to replenish some fresh water. The fresh water was brought to the lighthouse by large ships. A specially built reservoir was placed at the lighthouse. If there was a lack of fresh water and they could not return to the port, they would replenish it. Apart from guiding the route, the lighthouse was mainly used by fishermen. The fishing boats were not very big. When they encountered storms, they would dock at the lighthouse. Then, they would place their hopes on the heavens. They hoped that the ships docked at the small pier would not be smashed into pieces by the storms. If they were really smashed into pieces, they could only blame it on their bad luck. At least they were still alive. When the ship docked, the lighthouse keeper came out with a glass oil lamp in his hand. After shaking it twice, he shouted, "Where's the ship?" One of the men rowing the ship replied, "It's Lu Zhou's. We just left Lu Zhou and are here for dinner." "Where's Lu Zhou's ship? Don't they know the rules? The weather hasn't changed. Why didn't they bring their own food? They're tormenting us at night." The lighthouse keeper's tone was clearly displeased. He stood there and did not come forward to help anchor the ship. Small ships were tied with ropes. They would not drop their anchors. If one saw a small ship dropping its anchor when it stopped, the owner of the ship would be the biggest fool. Li Longji thought the lighthouse keeper would welcome them happily. Was the lighthouse not the home of those who worked at the sea? Why was the lighthouse keeper unhappy? Then he asked, "What's the situation?" Of the two rowers, one jumped ashore to tie the rope, the other set up the gangplank and replied, "Replying to your Majesty's question, the so-called rule is actually an unwritten rule between the people guarding the pagoda and the people who go out to sea to fish. When the ship leaves the shore, if there are no special circumstances, the ship should not come up for dinner. This is because the lighthouse keepers have to cook for them. It's tiring and troublesome. Unless the ship asks them to use the fire when they come over, they don't care. The materials for the fire and the food for the lighthouse are all brought to the lighthouse by the fishermen at sea. The rule is that whoever uses them has to make up for it. Usually, the fishermen at sea would bring more and use less than what they bring. Hence, the lighthouse has a lot of surplus items. Under special circumstances, It's used by the people who are hiding in the lighthouse and can't go out. It's like taking from the people and using it for the people." While they were talking, Empress Wang and the others had already gone up. Li Longji also stepped onto the shore, nodded, and said, "I understand. It's the same as the food stored in the trees when hunting in the mountains. It's an important place for emergency and rest. Everyone follows the same rule. They can't just leave after they finish eating." "That's right," replied Zhang Xiaobao. He was carrying the gifts for the lighthouse. They were local specialties from Xuanyang, fresh vegetables, and fruits. Under normal circumstances, the people at the lighthouse could only eat fresh food once every few days, including pork and the like. They were all brought by the fishermen at sea. They didn't bring much, especially in summer. They spoiled easily. If they didn't come out at night, they would spoil easily in the day. The people at the lighthouse usually ate ham, bacon, dehydrated vegetables, dried fruits, and canned food. Of course, this treatment was already very good for the people guarding the lighthouse. After all, the people who went out to sea before knew how difficult it was to eat outside. Even if there were sun-dried or shade-dried vegetables, they couldn't be eaten when they were brought out. There wasn't enough fresh water to soak in. Wang Ju and Gao Lishe also helped to carry some of the things they brought. The rest was left to the two people who had tied the boat to the lighthouse. Other than pork, there was also venison. All of them were fresh and kept in ice. There was even wine. The person who ran out with an oil lamp finally realized that something was wrong. There were too many people on the boat. If they were really here to fish, the boat wouldn't be able to hold too many fish in one trip. It would be full of people. "Why are there so many people?" As he asked, the lighthouse guard walked towards the dock. He wanted to see who was so stupid as to bring a boat full of people out to sea. When he got closer, he finally realized that something was wrong with the situation with the help of the moonlight. "There's a child? Which family's child came out to play instead of studying in school?" "Ha, it's me. I'm here." When Xiao Bei heard the question, she shouted and ran towards the lighthouse guard. It was her first time coming to the lighthouse, so she found it very interesting. Slow down. Watch your step. Don't fall. It's all broken stones." "Who are you?" The lighthouse guard saw a child running towards him and quickly shouted. Xiao Bei tripped and almost fell. She steadied herself and patted her chest. She said with lingering fear, "Why didn't you lay down sand? It's all stones." "You are?" The lighthouse guard came in front of Xiao Bei and waved the lamp twice. He looked at Xiao Bei doubtfully and tried to recall whose child she was. After looking at her for a while, his eyes suddenly widened. He said with a look of disbelief, "You are Xiao Bei?" "Huh? How did you know?" Xiao Bei was confused. This person was too amazing. He could actually recognize her identity when he saw her. "Are you really Xiao Bei?" The lighthouse guard pointed at Xiao Bei's bag with his other hand and asked again with uncertainty. Xiao Bei looked down at her bag and found that there was a very large rice seedling pattern on it. In the middle of the rice seedling was the word, Bei. Only then did she know how the lighthouse guard recognized her. It was too eye-catching. Besides, other than the two families in Tang, no one dared to use the rice seedling pattern. "All right, I'm stupid." Xiao Bei patted her bag twice and asked the lighthouse guard, "Are you very happy?" "We're all here. Uncle Emperor, the Empress, Concubine Hui, and my grandfather are here." "Haha, why aren't you smiling?" Xiao Bei thought that the lighthouse guard would be very happy after knowing her identity. In the end, she was very disappointed. It was not that the lighthouse guard did not want to smile, but he was dumbfounded. He did not even dare to dream that the Zhang family and the Wang family would personally come to the lighthouse. They were so busy. How could they come to his place and meet him? "Old Hu, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and greet the emperor." A rower carrying a large bag in each hand came to the front of the tower and shouted loudly. The bags were still dripping with water. Good, the emperor is here? Old Hu, greet the emperor." The lighthouse guard finally woke up. His face was still full of shock. His voice was trembling, and he was about to kneel. Xiao Bei hurriedly pushed Old Hu with his hand and said, "Don't kneel. It's full of gravel. I was wondering why you didn't put some fine sand on the ground. When the time comes, there will be the beach, the sun, and the waves. Wouldn't it be better to swim and bask in the sun? Let's talk inside. I'm here to take a look." Li Longji coughed and ordered Old Hu. Yes, let's talk inside." Old Hu repeatedly agreed. He turned his head and shouted at the lighthouse, "Everyone, get up. The Emperor is here. Xiao Bei and the others are here too. Don't sleep in. Get up, everyone." Whether the people inside heard him or not, the people outside didn't know. Whether they panicked after hearing him, the people outside also didn't know. Li Longji had already heard that there were 2 people guarding the lighthouse, but from Old Hu's shout just now, he found out that there was more than 1 person inside. Glancing at Gao Li Shi asked Old Hu as if they had a tacit understanding, "How many people are guarding the lighthouse?" 4. Old Hu replied. He didn't know Gao Li Shi, but it didn't matter. Anyway, the people who could come were all of a much higher status than him. Even the 2 people who came with him could be seen clearly now. They were the leaders who specialized in using large ships to replenish the various lighthouses. Although there were fishermen in charge, in case the fishermen had something to do during a period of time, there would naturally be people who were responsible for delivering supplies. I once heard that there were 2 people guarding the lighthouse. Now there are 4. Li Longji asked personally. It has changed since 3 years ago. The lighthouse that is close to us has 4 people, and the lighthouse that is further away has 6 people. At that time, people from other places came over, saying that they were doing business, and then wanted to cause trouble. One of the lighthouse people was even killed by them. Since then, we have been on guard against all people who are not from the Tang Empire. We don't allow them to easily come to the lighthouse, and we also don't let them eat our lighthouse for free. Usually, a boat full of fish can only be exchanged for 2 bowls of water at our lighthouse. I heard the news from the lighthouse people at the front that they usually send a lot of fish and leave it at the lighthouse to prevent them from dying of thirst or starvation when something happens and they don't have anything to give to the lighthouse. Their people really died of thirst after that incident. Although they are not from the same tribe as them, it doesn't matter. As long as they are not from the Tang Empire, they have to hand over their things first and help later. Old Hu said excitedly. Perhaps it was because it was night time and he couldn't see the Emperor clearly, so other than his previous nervousness, his heart was much calmer now. Li Longji nodded. His good mood just now had also changed. Whenever he heard that people from the Tang Empire were harmed in other places, he would be unhappy. Especially before he came, many people had died. Other than a small number of people from the Tang Empire who were directly killed, there were also people from the Tang Empire who were captured and needed to be killed. Xiao Bei also looked angry and asked, "What about now? Are they still using the opportunity of coming to the lighthouse to harm our people?" Xiao Bei had already guessed the general situation. It was like the story of the farmer and the snake, or the other party probably looked like they were asking for help. Then, they would wait for the lighthouse people to let them go up, and when they were close enough, they would suddenly attack. Too bad, they were all bad people. We shouldn't help them anymore, even if we brought the things over in advance. Old Hu shook his head and replied, "No one dares to do that for a long time. The last time, the people who came looking for trouble didn't manage to escape. They were captured by our people. There were 5 of them, and they were tied to a small boat. They were sent to a place where the wind and waves were small, and they were left to dry in the sun. In the end, they were all burned to death. Now, they've paid a huge price. We've directly reduced the price of the things they caught to half of Lu Zhou's price. That's 100 copper coins, but we only charged them 5 copper coins. Moreover, when they came to the lighthouse, they weren't allowed to go to the top of the lighthouse. They could only rest in a place where the wind and rain leaked out from a pile of rocks. This way, they wouldn't be washed away when the storm came. They were only allowed to enter the lighthouse when the storm was so strong that the waves could drown the pile of rocks they stayed in. Moreover, their hands and feet were tied. "Why are you only out now? Quickly, come and greet the emperor." As Old Who spoke, he saw the 3 people who came out of the lighthouse. He hastily called out to them. In truth, the 3 of them had changed into clean and tidy clothes. At this moment, they were looking around excitedly for the emperor. When they heard Old Who's movements and saw his signal, they fell to their knees and kowtowed to the emperor at the same time. In the past, Li Longji liked it when people kowtowed to him. However, he was annoyed by it now. He felt that he would have to go out more often in the future. If all the people he passed by were like this, he would waste his energy on etiquette. After he gave the order, he had the 3 of them rise to their feet. Then, he led the way into the lighthouse. The space below the lighthouse was huge. Only the observation post at the top was small. Li Longji went up to the 2nd floor. At this moment, all the oil lamps in the lighthouse were lit, illuminating the interior of the lighthouse. Li Longji looked around as he walked. From time to time, he would touch the walls of the lighthouse and knock on them with his knuckles. He nodded in satisfaction before he asked Zhang Xiaobao, "Did you spend a lot of money to repair the lighthouse?" "We didn't spend any money," Zhang Xiaobao replied. "The money was saved by the lighthouse's keepers. We agreed that the money they earned would belong to them. However, they still used it to renovate the lighthouse. We're the only one who paid for the first renovation." Li Longji's interest was piqued. He asked, "Apart from the wages, they earned extra money?" Old Who did not wait for Zhang Xiaobao's reply. He said, "Yes, Your Majesty. We earn money from this. In the lighthouse, we have something that specializes in rearing fish and prawns. We don't let them breed. Instead, we catch them and raise them there. When there are enough of them, we'll give them to the supply ship. The supply ship will bring them back. After the price is calculated, a portion of the money will belong to us. Since we don't have anything else to do, we'll fish and prawns on the islands or the reefs. If we come across a good species, we'll rear them. Since my lighthouse is close to Luzhou, it's not enough. The people from the farthest places, especially those who come from other places, usually bring precious items with them. The lighthouse keepers keep the price low. In fact, they don't even pay 5%. If we come across good pearls, tortoiseshell, and large abalones, we'll earn a huge sum of money. This is why we're willing to trade with them. Although one of our men died, we'll allow them to provide us with items. The farthest reef is 475. The 6 men who guard the lighthouse managed to save up more than 4,000 strings of coins in a year. They bought large stones, cement, and steel bars and had their reef enlarged. Initially, it was more than 20 steps wide. Now, it's about 50 steps wide. The lighthouse has been renovated as well. Even so, they still have a lot of money left. They bought carriages for their families. They're much wealthier than the average person. In the second half of last year, other people complained, so they had no choice but to switch with others. When spring comes, I'll switch as well. Old Who seemed very excited. He meant to say that it was easier to make a fortune if they switched to a farthest place. Naturally, they also had to be lucky. People from other places would be willing to trade with them if they came across valuable items. Li Longji was speechless. In his opinion, the lighthouse keepers were not willing to go to farthest places. It was not easy to go back and forth. Moreover, they would not have time to treat their illnesses. He did not expect that in the face of money, all difficulties could be solved. He actually managed to earn 4,000 strings of coins in a year. This was shocking. While they were still in shock, they arrived at the 3rd floor. There was another floor above that. Then, they arrived at the lookout pavilion at the top. It was not this high in the past, and the space was not so big. Everyone sat down. Old Who ordered someone to prepare tea. The water was already boiled and stored in a thermos so that they could drink it at any time. Drinking a mouthful of hot water would make one feel much better. Li Longji did not ask Gao Lishir to bring out his tea. He drank the tea prepared by the lighthouse. It tasted bad and had a lot of foam. After drinking a few mouthfuls, Li Longji asked. There are 4 people in the lighthouse. What are they in charge of? In response to your question, Your Majesty, they're also in charge of the lighthouse. However, they usually do different things. For example, I'm in charge of cooking. My cooking is the best. When I'm not sleeping, I cook for them. When I sleep, little Chi cooks for me. Apart from fishing for prawns, we're also learning how to read. 2 of the soldiers were sent here by Lu Zhou. They were fully literate and even brought books with them. When they were not catching fish, they would train in the sea around the lighthouse or shoot at the targets on the small boats that were released from the shore. Sometimes, they'll sit on the boats and shoot at the targets in the sea. They're specially sent by Lu Zhou. Not everyone has this opportunity. Only the most elite are allowed to train in the lighthouse for 2 years. A place with 6 people is 4 soldiers. I heard they'll be used for war in the future. Now, they're practicing swimming and shooting at the floating targets. Old who could not be bothered to drink his water. There was no end to the conversation. Little Chi wanted to chime in, but he did not have the chance. As for the 2 soldiers, they sat obediently at the side with their backs straight as they waited for the emperor's orders. The 2 men who rowed the boat could not rest. They climbed to the top and took over the lookout job. Li Longji listened with great interest. He would think about it from time to time before he voiced his doubts. When he heard Old Who talking excitedly, he felt a different kind of feeling. Old Who explained the current situation of the lighthouse. There were more and more lighthouses. Whenever there was a big reef in a certain place where the lighthouse would not be submerged in a storm, Lu Zhou would send people to repair it. Then, he would arrange for people to work on it. It seemed like a lot of money was spent. Moreover, it did not seem like there was a need for so many lighthouses. However, there was a benefit to having so many lighthouses. The ships that went out to sea became bolder. This was especially true for the lighthouses that were only dozens of miles apart. Once people entered the lighthouses, they felt as though they had returned home. There did not seem to be any danger in that part of the sea. The light from each lighthouse was mesmerizing at night. On the other hand, places without lighthouses would be dark at night. Not only would their eyes be uncomfortable, but their hearts would feel empty as well. None of the fishermen would want to fish there even if there was a big school of fish there. Aren't the gunships in charge of scouting for fish? If they help, they can at least send news back quickly, right? Li Longji could imagine how lonely it was to be out there. Even if the ships were slightly bigger and had a few people on board, they would still feel uncomfortable when they were far away from the range of the lighthouses. Your Majesty, the gunships will report when they see a school of fish on their way back. However, the telegrams can't travel too far. It's said that there are telegrams that can travel even farther in the capital, but Lu Zhou doesn't have one yet. The gunships can't be responsible for delivering news to the fishermen. At the same time, the gunships won't chase after the school of fish. When they return from a patrol mission, the school of fish would have already disappeared. Old Who seemed regretful when he mentioned this. Li Longji looked at Zhang Xiaobao. He wondered why Lu Zhou was not given a good radio station. Zhang Xiaobao sighed helplessly and said, "Do we have to talk about everything openly? Do we have to tell the others about the strength of Lu Zhou's fleet? The diesel engine from the Ministry of Works has already been delivered to Lu Zhou. Do we have to announce to the world that we want to put this engine on a small boat and turn it into a very fast speedboat? Can we travel dozens of nautical miles in a short time?" Li Longji finally understood what Zhang Xiaobao meant. Although it was said that the people could be made to know what they wanted, they should not reveal everything about military affairs to the people. Otherwise, it would be impossible to expect the people to keep it a secret if they knew about it. A rare expression of embarrassment appeared on Li Longji's face. To cover it up, he asked loudly, "What's a speedboat?" "It's the propeller that's not good enough. It's something that can malfunction at any time. It's the one that's specially used at the most critical moment. It's the first and most advanced thing our family built." Zhang Xiaobao explained. He felt embarrassed as well. Although the item was good, its quality was not good enough. Back then, he had only built it to attract the attention of the palace. He wanted to raise his family's status in exchange for it. Li Longji finally found an opportunity to attack Zhang Xiaobao. You still have the cheek to talk about your propeller? Apart from the mysterious fan blade, the bearings you use are always broken. When I'm at Xujiang, I don't even use it anymore. I can't afford to worry about it. I'll have to repair it after 2 or 3 uses. I was having fun when it suddenly broke. My good mood is gone. You're still hoping to use it for life-saving and short-distance pursuit. Now that the technology is good, I don't see you using it. Zhang Xiaobao said confidently. Now that I don't need to play in a small pond, it's only natural that I won't use it. In the future, I'll be free to fly. When that diesel engine thing is done, let me have a look. Li Longji chuckled as he spoke. Old Hu was listening at the side, was confused. He finally understood. It was not that Lu Zhou did not have a good communication tool, but he had hidden it. It seemed like he could not tell anyone about it. Otherwise, it would be detrimental to Great Tang. He was confused. What diesel engine? What speedboat? What's a bearing? He knew he did not know, but he did not dare to ask. Xiao Bao had said to keep it a secret. The more he knew, the easier it was for him to spill the beans. Let's eat. Try the food from the lighthouse. Things that are chilled can't be kept for too long. Let's cook them, Li Longji said to Old Hu, not wanting to continue talking about the great Tang military technology. Old Hu did not expect to have a chance to cook with so many people here. He happily agreed and promised to cook his best dishes. Then, he turned around and happily went to the kitchen. Old Hu's best dishes were nothing special to Li Longji. He could eat them, but they could not compare to Xiao Bao's. In fact, even the chefs of the Sea Cloud restaurant could not compare to his. However, he still had a good time eating. After the meal, he asked Old Hu about the lighthouse in the sea. With a different dream in his heart, he found a place to sleep. Zhang Xiaobao, on the other hand, was worried. He was not worried that something would happen, but he was worried that they would have to go to the next lighthouse tomorrow or even one that was further away. This was because Li Longji had asked Old Hu many questions before he went to sleep about whether the lighthouses at different distances were the same. Old Hu's answer worried Zhang Xiaobao. It was impossible for the lighthouses to be the same. Some waters were different, and the scenery was different. The things produced in the sea were also different. Moreover, the lighthouse they were in was surrounded by gravel. Old Hu also said that it was because of the reef that was made of gravel. No matter how much fine sand was collected from elsewhere, it would still be washed into the sea by the waves and storms. It was impossible to build a dike to stop it. However, some lighthouses were small islands surrounded by fine sand. The scenery was beautiful, and a long distance away was shallow water. Under the sun, the sand shone like gold. If one wanted to swim, one could see many small fish in the shallow water and all kinds of seabirds in the sky above. If it was not so far away, they could even build a few houses on it and settle down there. Li Longji listened to Old Hu with a yearning expression on his face. From time to time, he would ask Zhang Xiaobao if it was the same. Zhang Xiaobao was speechless. Was there a need to explain why it was called the Blue Sea Silver Sand? It was because of the beautiful scenery. There was a natural beach, floating clouds, and clear water. As expected, early the next morning, Li Longji hurriedly finished his breakfast and said to Zhang Xiaobao, "We're out here once, after all. I don't know when the next time I want to go out to sea will be. Why don't we go to 2 more places while the weather's fine?" What else could Zhang Xiaobao say? Naturally, he nodded in agreement. However, he could not continue to sit on the medium-sized ship. It was easy for the rowers to die of exhaustion at their posts. When he boarded the troop transporting ship, he sent a message to Lu Zhou, asking for a supply ship. Then, he let the ship sail at half full sail and slowly made its way to the small island with the beach. He would wait for the supply ship behind him to come up before the full sail was raised. Xiaobao, when it comes to sceneries, every place is different. The sea in the south is really nice. It makes people feel comfortable just by looking at it. The sky is blue and the clouds are white. Look, there are so many white clouds in the sky. Don't they look like pictures? Li Longji held a goblet filled with ice and wine. He placed his other hand on his back as he stood at the bow of the ship. He enjoyed the sea breeze as he spoke to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao looked up at the clouds that seemed to be increasing in number and density. He said worriedly, "Your Majesty, please wait for a moment. I'll go and ask a few people. I'll come back and admire the paintings with you." Zhang Xiaobao turned around and left. He went to look for someone who was experienced at sea and asked if there would be a storm. In this era where there were no satellites, he could only rely on himself. Naturally, there were times when a person's experience was more powerful than a satellite's. If he did not keep an eye on the clouds and the data from the various stations on the ground, the weather forecast would not always be accurate. However, experienced people would be able to make a judgment based on the wind blowing and the clouds in the sky, as well as what had happened in the past during this season. Many of these people were old. When he first came to Luzhou, he relied on this group of old people to help him predict the weather. They were very accurate. At this moment, there were more than 10 old fishermen on the ship. Their job was to look at the weather. After asking around, Zhang Xiaobao felt relieved. It would rain, but it would only rain at night. Moreover, it was not a heavy rain but a light drizzle. 2 of the old men said it was moderate rain. At the same time, some of them said it would stop at midnight while others said it would last until the next night. Zhang Xiaobao had to choose who to believe. In the end, Zhang Xiaobao decided to look for a lighthouse tonight and planned to rest there. He could not stay on the ship. It would be best if he stayed on a small island. If there was a storm, he could abandon the ship, but he could not let anything happen to the people. What do you think? It's only a heavy rain. There's no need to be too anxious. Li Longji had not seen a storm at sea with his own eyes. He spoke to Zhang Xiaobao based on his own conjecture. Zhang Xiaobao felt that it would be great if there was a storm. He wanted Li Longji to see if it was just a heavy rain. "Your Majesty, it's different from the heavy rain you saw in the palace in the capital. When a storm comes, the waves can be dozens of meters high. Don't you see that there aren't many houses at the docks? It's not that they don't want to build houses in places with good scenery, but they can't withstand the torment. If there is a hurricane, many of the ships at the docks will be broken. Small boats have no resistance in the sea and can fly up in an instant. If there is a chance, I'll let you see it. Look at the clouds. There are also seabirds. There will be seabirds that will land on the ship. Just sprinkle a few grains. It's very interesting." Zhang Xiaobao knew how serious his words were. Li Longji was only imagining it. Those who had never experienced it would never understand the power of the sea. Li Longji did not think too much about it after hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words. Instead, he looked forward to meeting them. He felt that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan had the ability to ensure his safety. Even Zhang Xiaobao himself did not think that he had the ability. However, he was curious about what Zhang Xiaobao said about seabirds landing on the ship. He asked, "Aren't birds afraid of people? As long as you don't hit them, they'll be fine. Look, there are seabirds on the mast now. They need to rest as well." "Oh no. Come back. Shui Yun, you're not allowed to catch seabirds to eat." When Zhang Xiaobao looked up at the mast, he suddenly saw a flock of eagles flying in the distance. The red and white eagles were too dazzling. On the way here, Shui Yun and her family had nothing else to do. Therefore, they tagged along and helped to scout the surroundings. They also caught a lot of prey. When they arrived at Lu Zhou's place, he arranged for them to stay in the tallest building behind Ocean Cloud Inn. He did not expect them to tag along. Based on the way they flew, it was clear they wanted to use force to prove who was in charge of the sea. After shouting, Zhang Xiaobao waved his arms vigorously. He knew Shui Yun and the others could see him. The seabirds on the mast who usually ate fish and now had a chance to taste grains saw the eagles flying in the distance. They did not even have time to rest. They flapped their wings and fled. Shui Yun seemed to know what Zhang Xiaobao meant. Perhaps, she did not intend to kill anyone. She looked at the seabirds disdainfully and led her family to land on the mast where the seabirds were resting. Then, she called out to Zhang Xiaobao below. "Your Majesty, the grains won't do. Please feed the seabirds some meat later," Zhang Xiaobao said to Li Longji, who was also looking up. Li Longji, Little Bei and the others, who had slept very late last night, heard Zhang Xiaobao's call. Shortly after, they pushed open the cabin door and rushed out. They opened their sleepy eyes and waved their arms happily as they greeted Shui Yun and her family. Come down, Shui Yun, I'll give you something delicious. Come down and land on the railing. I'll give you fish to eat," Little Bei shouted with her arms outstretched. Shui Yun and her family did not obediently land as she expected. Instead, they called out a few times as if they were communicating something. Then, the Hong Wan spread its wings and dived into the sea. It was so fast that when its whole body was about to plunge into the water, it flapped its fiery wings and its body suddenly slowed down. However, it was only relatively slow. Then, the Hong Wan scooped up the water with its claws and flapped its wings, rising into the air again. In her claws was a big fish more than 1 meter long. It looked scary. The fish was not dead yet. It shook its tail vigorously but could not break free. Is the Hong Wan Shui Yun is looking for an eagle looking for food in the sea? Zhang Xiaobao looked at the Hong Wan's skillful movements and guessed. Probably. Li Longji's gaze was fixed on the fish as he muttered, "Probably." Carrying the fish, the Hong Wan flew toward the ship and spread her claws on the deck. The fish she caught finally broke free but was unable to return to the sea. With a bang, it smashed onto the deck and stopped moving. It was either knocked unconscious or fell to its death. The Hong Wan landed on the mast and called out to the 11 little eagles. The 11 little eagles immediately dived down from the mast. 2 of them dived into the water and flapped their wings a few times before flying up again. They brought with them countless water droplets but failed to find anything. The other 9 eagles directly stopped when they were about to dive into the water. Then, they flapped their wings and flew up, not daring to enter the water. Seeing this scene, Little Bei shouted at the 9 eagles, "Cowards, what are you afraid of? You won't drown if you fall. Did you forget what you did when you learned to fly? I know that you fell into the small lake between the clouds and the water restaurant several times." Little Bei was talking about the place that was prepared for Shui Yun's children. In the beginning, Shui Yun did not let the children fly immediately. As a result, when they gained weight, there were always problems when they learned to fly. They kept falling into the water and were rescued by others to repeat the previous actions. Chapter 11:17. The first time they failed to teach the children how to fish in the sea, Hong Wan and Shui Yun didn't show any signs of anxiousness. Unlike the other eagles, they wouldn't give up after teaching once. Shui Yun flew into the sky and drove the 11 children back to the mast. He called out and personally flew down to catch the fish. His actions were exactly the same as Hong Wan's. The only difference was that he went a little deeper into the water. When he came out again, he had a fish more than 3 meters long in his claws. The reason why it was so long was not because the fish he caught was big, but because he caught a hairtail. The hairtail twisted its body in the air, as if it was unwilling to be caught like this. Like Hong Wan, Shui Yun threw the hairtail onto the deck. This time, the hairtail was a little stronger than the previous one. It didn't die and was still struggling. Zhang Xiaobao flicked his wrist and a knife flew out, nailing the hairtail's head to the deck and freeing it. Li Longji looked at Zhang Xiaobao in surprise and asked in puzzlement, "Where did you hide your knife?" "You're wearing short-sleeved clothes." "Around the waist." "I'm not wearing pants without a waist," Zhang Xiaobao said casually. Just like when Wang Wan asked him where he hid his knife. He said it was in his sleeve, as if no one should ask such a stupid question. "This sickle fish is big. I'm going to fry it. Shui Yun and Hong Wan are really good. You should learn from your parents." Xiao Bei praised and encouraged the 11 little eagles. He ran to the side of the hairtail fish and squatted down to look. Hairtail fish, in some places, were called sickle fish, and in some places, they were directly called blade fish. However, they were different in shape from the Yangtze River bladefish. A 3-meter-long hairtail wasn't small, but it wasn't too big either. At Zhang Xiaobao's time, there were people who caught more than 1,500 catties of big hairtail. No one ate it, and it was put on display as an exhibit. "It's enough for the 11 of us." Xiaobei measured the hairtail with his hand and turned to the other children who didn't go over. Pan ran over and kicked the hairtail, shouting, "Fish, fish." The water cloud in the sky called out again, and the 11 little eagles rushed down again, going back and forth. Every eagle that caught a fish would be praised by the water cloud, and every eagle that didn't catch a fish would continue to catch one. There was an eagle that didn't dare to go into the water, but after being pecked by the water cloud, it finally went into the water. Shuiyun was indeed not as foolish as other eagles. Furthermore, he was very strict. He knew how to ask people for cotton to make nests for his children. He also knew that when his children were still young, they needed to eat insects and so on. Because he and Hong Wan were too busy to raise all of them, he asked people for insects to feed them. They were even more aware of the various dangers that would appear during the process of children learning to fly. Therefore, they were willing to accept the arrangements and measures arranged by their home to protect children who could not fly for a while. However, he did not allow the child to shrink back again and again. That meant that it was fine if the child could not catch the fish and could practice more. However, it was absolutely impossible for the child not to go down and catch the fish. The eagles who had been in the water once were not so afraid when they went down again. They also became more and more proficient in catching fish. There were small fish and big fish. Every eagle caught a fish and threw it on the deck like Shuiyun and Shuiyun. They went back and forth again and again. Soon, there was a small mountain of various fish on the deck. The people on the ship also came out to watch the fun. When they looked at the 13 eagles, their eyes revealed envy. They also wanted to have one. One was enough, and they didn't want to be greedy. However, they also knew that this wish could not be realized. Even if they got an eagle, it would absolutely not be as smart as the 13 eagles in their eyes. Moreover, it would be very troublesome to train them. Enough, enough, stop catching. Rest for a while. It's enough for us to eat. Not everyone on the ship will eat. If everyone eats, it won't be enough even if you catch for a day. Quickly stop. Don't tire yourself out. Xiaobei was more than 10 meters away from the small mountain of fish and shouted at Shuiyun. She ran so far because there was a little eagle that dared to catch any kind of fish. Like a newborn calf, it actually caught a small shark. It was about 80 centimeters long. It was small, but no matter how small a shark was, it was still a shark. Its back was scratched and a lot of blood flowed out, but it didn't mean that the shark couldn't move when it reached the deck. Some greedy sharks even rushed to the beach more than 10 meters away to eat people. Of course, the result was naturally that it was eaten by people. Xiaobei was very clear about the power of sharks. When she was still in Jili province, she personally fed sharks. They were also raised in the zoo in the capital of the Tang Empire. She didn't think that she could fight sharks in the water with her swimming ability. If it was her brother, he might be able to because he was strong enough to go down with a weapon. Shuiyun seemed to think that what Xiaobei said made sense. It was good that they learned it. After calling twice, the 11 eagles stopped and followed their parents to the railing of the ship. There, they panted and rested. Their stomachs were bulging. Obviously, they were very tired. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the shark and walked to Xiaobei's side. He said to the people behind him, "Kill the shark first to avoid hurting people. In a while, pull the net. Today, everyone will eat fish." Immediately, someone came over from behind with a fork and stabbed the shark. As for eating fish, no one was too excited. It seemed that they were tired of eating fish. After the shark was killed, except for the scratches on its body, the skin of the other parts of its body was still intact. People who often stayed at sea knew that sharks didn't matter, but shark skin was very precious. The belts and bags made by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Xiaobao could be sold for a lot of money. Xiaobei asked her brother for a knife and pulled out a fish from the mountain of fish. She waved the knife and cut the fish into strips. Seeing that there were no bones on it, she held it in her hand and came to the eagles standing on the railing. She raised her arm and said, "Eat the fish you caught. Eat first. Be careful. Don't touch my hand." Li Longji watched as the little eagles tilted their heads and slowly opened their mouths like their father. They bit the fish in Xiao Bei's hand and raised their heads to swallow it. Li Longji couldn't help but ask Zhang Xiaobao, "For the next nest, shouldn't you leave 2 for me as well?" "That depends on how many there are in the next nest. If there are 5, you won't have a share. Xiao Bei has a sister without ears. In addition to the 4 children in my mother's and my mother-in-law's womb, each of them can have 1. If there are 6, I'll leave 1 for you. If there are others that you can't refuse, I'll ask you. Since you've given them to them, don't think about it anymore." Zhang Xiaobao first ordered 5. Since he had already recognized a sister, he naturally had to leave 1 for her. He couldn't favor one over the other. Now, Shuiyun and Hong Wan's child could no longer be bought with money. Unlike the eagles in other places, no matter how good they were, if they spent enough money or if they had some other purpose, they would give the baby eagles away. "What if there are 4? Who won't you give them to?" Li Longji asked. What he meant was that if there were 4, there were 5 children in Shuiyun's family. He couldn't give less to anyone, so he might as well give all 4. "If there are 4, I'll sell and auction them. The starting price is 1 million strings of string of coins. If anyone is willing to buy them, bid. I have to discuss with Shuiyun's family first. When the eagles grow up, maybe there will be more intelligent eagles in the future." Zhang Xiaobao looked at Shuiyun's family and said, "I'll buy each with a starting price of 1 million strings of coins. Let's see who dares to compete with me. After all, I'm an emperor, right? Do you lack a few million strings of coins?" Li Longji revealed his identity. "I plan to use a secret auction method. No one will know who paid for them. Is a few million too little? The landlord doesn't have any surplus." Zhang Xiaobao continued to bicker. While the 2 of them were enjoying a rare moment of peace and leisurely bickering, Wang Wan walked out of the cabin with a calm expression and a piece of paper in her hand. When Zhang Xiaobao saw Wang Wan's expression, he knew that something had happened, and it was not a small matter. He sighed helplessly and said to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, look. It's not easy to have a few days of comfort, but trouble has come again. Who's the troublemaker this time? It's better to live a good life, but they just have to look for trouble." Li Longji really didn't see why Wang Wan came out. Seeing that Wang Wan was holding a piece of paper in her hand, he guessed that it was a telegram. He asked, "Cuckoo, what's wrong?" "It's not a big problem. Something has happened in the southwest. According to the intelligence, the duo eaters have started to gather in the southwest since the day before yesterday. At that time, we didn't discover anything. Today, we found out that they are indeed gathering troops. There are already 2,000 of them. There are no women or children among them, only a few old people. Our initial guess is that they want to do something to show off their strength. Moreover, they plan to show off their martial strength. The old people should be leading the way and familiarizing themselves with the local environment." Wang Wan shook the piece of paper in her hand and handed it to Li Longji. Zhang Xiaobao didn't need to look at it. Since Wang Wan said that there were 2,000 people, it must be about 2,000 people. Li Longji took a few glances. There weren't many words on the paper, and the content was also very little. It only mentioned the situation that Wang Wan had just mentioned. Li Longji's face turned dark and sinister. Just like what Zhang Xiaobao had said, he had finally been able to enjoy life and live a peaceful life, but now, it was all because of Zhang Xiaobao. Riding a boat, looking at the blue sky and white clouds, watching the rolling waves, admiring the majestic appearance of Shuiyun's family, chatting with the local people guarding the pagoda, finding a good island, standing on the beach, basking in the sun, swimming in the shallow water, bickering with Zhang Xiaobao with the children, how carefree. However, there would always be people who would come and cause trouble. His great Tang didn't attack duo eaters now, but duo eaters dared to make a move first. Even if they wanted to die, they didn't have to be in such a hurry. When the people on the other boats heard Wang Wan's words, they were all very angry. They were the navy. Although they couldn't help attack duo eaters, they were still soldiers. In their view, only the great Tang would take the initiative to attack others, not allow others to take the initiative to come and cause trouble. Although it was only a gathering of 2,000 people, it was a provocation to the great Tang's dignity. When they attacked, they would directly attack duo eaters and ask them if they still dared to do so. Yes, that was the way to ask. It was very satisfying to ask. After Cuckoo finished asking, the Tubo people at that time almost went crazy with anger. It was like when two people were fighting, one was put on the ground and the other was on top of him. Then, he was slapped continuously until his face was swollen. He thought that he would find a chance to repay him in the future, but in the end, the one who hit him pointed at him and asked if he still dared to do so in the future. Killing people was just a matter of time, but after hitting him, he was insulted. Li Longji also thought so he asked Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, "Where are your soldiers? Why didn't the intelligence say that the cavalry should go and attack and scatter them? Don't tell me that your soldiers are in small numbers in the original Tubo and Qinghai Lake and have no combat power. I don't want to see how others provoke us and how our great Tang tolerates the information. What I want to see is that when others say something wrong, our great Tang soldiers have already settled the matter. What are you too busy with? Why didn't they attack when they gathered? Should we wait for them to attack first?" When Li Longji finished speaking, he was already shouting. He seemed very dissatisfied. Bei Bei was also very angry. Xiao Bei was also furious. He said, "Brother, sister, let's hit them. They're too much of a bully. We're not the kind of people who can only return one slap when someone slaps us, but not two. We're the kind of people who can slap someone first. Let's not talk about fighting back. Even if he mutters a word, we'll kill him. How dare they gather here? They're looking down on us." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at each other and suddenly laughed at the same time. Before Li Longji got angry, Zhang Xiaobao quickly said, "Your Majesty, we must fight, but we can't attack the soldiers in Qinghai Lake who are under the jurisdiction of Cuckoo and me. It's meaningless. The soldiers there don't lack actual combat experience. Not to mention 2,000 people, even if they gather 20,000 people, we can immediately disperse them if we want to attack. However, the officer who will command the battle is from the inner court who has fought many battles there. Therefore, this order can't be given by Cuckoo and me. Your Majesty, you have to decide which army needs to be trained and which generals in the imperial court need actual combat experience. That's easy to handle, right?" Wang Wan chimed in from the side. "Xiaobao's opinion is the same as mine. It's too easy for us to defeat 2,000 of them now. Before we arrived in Hangzhou, we had already completed the logistics and assembly of the troops on the ship. However, our purpose was not to fight, but to intimidate. Now it's a rare opportunity. It's a small battle, which is about tactics and has nothing to do with strategy. Why don't we train the soldiers? Our weapons are advanced. Let the soldiers who usually just hit the targets kill people. When Xiao Bao and I go out next year, we don't have to worry about the imperial court not having more actual combat soldiers. Your Majesty, you can arrange it." Hearing their words, Li Longji was no longer angry. However, he did not agree with Zhang Xiaobao's statement that the Tang Empire soldiers near Qinghai Lake were under their jurisdiction. Were they really the Tang Empire's soldiers? They were the private soldiers of the two of them, okay? Li Longji had no time to refute Zhang Xiaobao's words, let alone argue with Zhang Xiaobao now. He turned his head and ordered Gao Li-shi, who was standing behind him, send an order to tell the civil and military officials in the capital to hold a temporary emergency court meeting. Go to Xingqing Palace. I'll communicate with them by telegram. Gao Li-shi took the order and left. Li Longji took a deep breath, thought for a while, and said, "We can't send soldiers from the south. It's too far away. It's better to send soldiers from Shannan or Jiannan. You two arrange the logistics." Chapter 11-18. Li Longji happily went to hold an instant telegram conference while Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan continued to play with their little brothers and sisters. The two of them were in no hurry to allocate the supplies. From the other party's actions, it seemed that Duoshe didn't want to start a large-scale war. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been able to gather an army right under the noses of the great Tang, let alone 2,000 people. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were very confident in this. The environment and terrain of that place weren't a place that just anyone could start a war with a large number of people. If it were that simple, the two of them wouldn't have needed to train in the Turkic lands for a year. It would have been much more convenient to just charge over. In Wang Wan's words, little Gao had once gone to fight, but due to various reasons, he had lost the war. However, the victorious Duoshe had not been able to attack the great Tang's territory in one go. Similarly, even if little Gao had won at that time, he hadn't been able to bring his soldiers too far in. The climate wasn't suitable, and the supply route was too long. These were all crucial factors. At that time, Duoshe had been more formidable than it was now. It was just that Duoshe's political rule had been more stable than it was now. In that situation, they hadn't been able to invade, much less now. Wang Wan guessed that Duoshe had seen that they had increased the number of soldiers in Tubo and used the excuse of disaster relief as an excuse. However, even though the disaster was over, the soldiers had not been withdrawn. Thus, he was a little anxious, or more accurately, afraid. Thus, he naturally had to do something to delay or stop the great Tang's plan to invade. By bringing out 2,000 people, he was expressing his attitude. First, Duoshe wanted to use this method to tell the great Tang that he, Duoshe, would not just wait to be beaten and not retaliate. He had his own soldiers. Second, he wanted to say that he didn't want to attack them. He didn't intend to start a large-scale war. He just wanted to protect his own position. This wasn't a provocation, but a helplessness. He was admitting defeat, but he wasn't directly saying that he couldn't do it. Instead, he was expressing it through actions. I can imagine that once our soldiers go over, Duoshe will immediately send someone to contact us. To be more precise, they will question why we sent soldiers to their territory. Zhang Xiaobao said to Wang Wan after he stopped his little sister from changing her clothes and jumping into the water. He sat on the deck and gave his little brother and sister the task of cleaning up the fish. Wang Wan nodded her head in deep agreement. I think so too. Their purpose is not to question us. Their purpose is to make our people mention the Jiangnan Dao through questioning, so we can criticize or ask them about their cannibalism. As soon as our people opened their mouths, they would immediately put on a, "Is that really so?" look, and then say that they didn't know, and that someone had come to cause trouble in the name of polyphagy. They wanted to give it to them, or say that they had already killed the troublemaker over there. They even sent us a bunch of duo cannibals' heads to show us, saying that it was the responsibility of this group of people, but in fact, the heads were sent by the duo cannibal lord. In other words, they were the people who had been eliminated internally. They might even come to pay tribute. Unable to swim, Xiaobei squatted next to her brother and sister to clean up the fish. Her mind was not on the fish. She glanced at her brother and sister from time to time and listened to them talk. At this moment, she interrupted. Zhang Xiaobao and Wei Wei smiled and praised. You can tell just by looking at Xiaobei, let alone duo cannibal. After being praised by her brother, Xiaobei became excited. She immediately put down the work in her hands and said, I know what they are up to, so we must not ask them about the Jiangnan Dao first. Instead, we must directly ask them why they have stationed troops on the land of the Tang Empire. Then we will ask them to retreat. If they don't retreat, we will bombard them with cannons. We will attack them from the sky and on the ground. We will also ask Shui Yun to be in charge of reconnaissance. What do you think? Good idea. When the time comes, our Xiaobei will ask them in her own name. Zhang Xiaobao smiled and patted his sister's head. What he said was naturally a little perfunctory. The people in the past would not mention the issue of whose territory it was. If they really did, Duo Cannibal would definitely change the topic and start to argue with the Tang Empire about the issue of the territory. The Tang Empire did not have the time to play with Duo Cannibal. The purpose of the soldiers in the past was to fight and train them. although they were good at training and had a high success rate in shooting fixed targets and moving targets. But in real life, the enemy wasn't a fool. They wouldn't just stay there and be a target for you. After suffering a few losses, they would also hide. The people on both sides could be considered a form of training. It was just that one side was very passive. Xiao Bei happily continued to clean up the fish. When it was almost time for dinner, Li Longji, who had casually eaten something at noon, ended the instant telegram meeting. With a tired expression, he found Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He poured himself a glass of wine and added a lot of ice cubes in the wine, looking like he wanted to drink melted ice instead of wine. He raised his head and drank 2 mouthfuls of wine and chewed a piece of ice. After that, he let out a long breath of enjoyment and asked Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, "How is the logistics arrangement?" "We can't wait for the soldiers to run to the front and end up with no bullets and no food to eat. We have discussed it. Cuckoo and I plan to give this difficult and glorious task to the logistics groups in Jiannan and Shannon. We will find people in the form of a tender. Whoever performs well and provides the best conditions will be the one we will use." Zhang Xiaobao did not mention anything about logistics to Wang Wan. When Li Longji asked, he casually answered. Wang Wan nodded in agreement. It seemed like the two of them had really considered this for a long time before coming to a decision. Li Longji and Wei Wei paused and looked at Zhang Xiaobao in surprise. Then, they asked, "Why is it not your family's people or the imperial court's people? Even if it is a small-scale war, it is good to train the soldiers. Logistics soldiers are also soldiers, and they are not inferior to the soldiers on the front lines. If our family and the imperial court's people are mobilized, the matter will become serious. It will give the impression that we want to start a large-scale war, and it will make them more vigilant. It will affect our training of the soldiers. If we send the local groups, it will give them a false impression. Our family's soldiers in the Tubo region will not be mobilized, and our logistics will not be mobilized. This will make the people of Duoshi think that we are going to fight them to put on a show for the people of Great Tang, and not really want to make the war as tragic as possible. Our people have other things to do. For example, when the railway is being built, they can help transport construction materials, organize meals, and so on. We can't spare any manpower. We have to develop the country's infrastructure," Zhang Xiaobao explained to Li Longji. After listening to his words, Li Longji felt that Zhang Xiaobao made some sense. However, when he heard the latter part, Li Longji felt that Zhang Xiaobao was talking in his sleep. What did he mean by developing the country's infrastructure? Not being able to spare any manpower? Not to mention the people of Duoshi, even he did not believe it. Knowing that Zhang Xiaobao was starting to scheme again, Li Longji did not intend to fall for Zhang Xiaobao's words. Instead, he turned his gaze to Wang Wan. Wang Wan was also in a daze. She had not discussed this matter before, so she had to think carefully about it. After a while, Wang Wan finally considered part of the matter. The reason why she only considered part of it was because she was not sure what Zhang Xiaobao wanted to do. Li Longji, who was standing there with an unhurried expression, said, "Zhang Xiaobao's meaning is that our and the imperial court's logistics troops will be used to build the railway. Not only will they be used for transportation, but our people will also have to participate in the construction of the railway when it is not too dangerous. In fact, during the transportation process, we will also have to repair the road to the railway line. Furthermore, the speed must be fast and the quality must be acceptable. We will also improve the training of the logistics troops in charge of roadbed engineering. In other words, we will strengthen the training of the engineers." After Wang Wan finished speaking, she looked at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao returned a look of certainty. "Why is that?" Li Longji could not guess. To be more precise, his mind was not completely on the current topic. He was still in the state of the telegram conference. Wang Ju, who had also followed Duoshi, thought of something and said, "Your Majesty, I think that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are doing this to make it more convenient for them to fight Duoshi in the future. The current conflict with Duoshi is a small-scale battle. There is no need for the road to be too good, especially now that the road in contact with Duoshi is almost done. After all, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo consider that area to be Tang Empire's territory. Letting the logistics companies in those two places be in charge of the logistics task now is not a big deal even if there are some mistakes. However, when we fight Duosha in the future, the logistics must follow up. The road is the most important thing. Now, let Xiao Bao's people cooperate with the people of the Imperial Court to do this. While saving the cost of other people's manpower, it also has the effect of training the troops. Oh, right, I was thinking about the matter of the meeting just now and was confused for a moment. Li Longji blinked twice and finally came out of the state just now. He naturally admitted that he was not focused enough. Then, he continued, in that case, we will follow Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's plan and let the people of the civilian logistics company go over to help. As for the cost, Xiao Bao, how do you think the cost is going to be? What cost? We will buy all the things. We don't need the people of the logistics company to manage. They just need to do the transportation. Zhang Xiaobao replied. I am talking about the cost of transportation. We can't let them do the work for free, Li Longji said. At the same time, he glared at Zhang Xiaobao, meaning to not beat around the bush. I don't believe that you don't understand what I mean. After being glared at, Zhang Xiaobao understood and hurriedly said, the problem of cost is easy to solve. When they ship the things to the place and come back, they will usually have empty carriages or horses. Since they have nothing to do, it is better to carry some things back. They can carry whatever they have over there. After they are done, they will ship it back. We don't want the things and they will sell it themselves. No matter how much they sell it for, it will be their own. It will be considered the cost of transportation. If they are willing to spend money, we can even sell the Duosha slaves to them at a low price. In the future, when we need to build roads or something, we can have them send the slaves over. We can give them some money as a form of employment. Isn't that good? Oh, you don't plan to pay? That's good. If we give them money, it will be hard to measure the amount. If we give them more or less, they will always think that it is worth it. They will consider whether it is worth it or not. If it is not worth it, they will not accept this job. Li Longji agreed with Zhang Xiaobao's idea. Usually, when merchants go over, they will also do business. When they go, they will load the goods, and when they come back, they will not be empty-handed. But to buy things over there is a cost. Now, they will use the cost when they go over to cover the cost. Merchants will know what to do. Li Longji thought it through. Wang Ju, who was once the Minister of Revenue, still does not understand many things. Seeing that the emperor understood, he asked Zhang Xiaobao, Xiaobao, if the war lasts for a long time and only let the logistics people of the two places be in charge, they will make more money. Will other people have opinions? They will also join in. But when they form a joint lineup and plan to invest in it, the war will be over. It will have an impact on the logistics industry of the two places. At least, it will make people's hearts waver. How should we solve this? Wang Ju thought about it thoroughly. He knew that his grandson will not refuse the people who came later to join. Otherwise, the two places will become the dominant force, which will not be good for the balance. Any person in the imperial court will consider this point. He was afraid that the war will end as soon as other people join in. After all, the other side only has 2,000 people. They will not need to hide for too long. Cuckoo, you tell them. I will go and cook. It's almost time to eat. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the sky and felt that eating is more important. Answering questions is a small matter. He said to his grandfather, smiled at him, and got up to go to the ship's kitchen. Wang Wan had to take over the task. She said to Wang Ju, Grandfather, you don't need to worry, because the war will not end. Although there are only 2,000 people in Duosha now, there are still people behind them. Our army also takes turns to fight with them. The purpose is to train the soldiers. The scale is not big, just a few hundred people. A few hundred people will go to the front and train to search, and then train to adapt to the climate, as well as to shoot and command in this climate. There is no need to fight so fiercely. After achieving some results, the body and spirit will enter a period of fatigue, and the next batch of people will go to take over and change the guard. Similarly, even if Duosha is always in a weak position, they will constantly send troops to rotate. Unless their people are stupid and wait for all 2,000 of them to die, they won't care. They are clearly suffering losses. Why do they still send troops? Wang Ju did not understand. Gao Lishe thought about the reason and explained to Wang Ju, "It's very simple. Duosha also needs to train the soldiers. Even if they suffer losses, they cannot stop. Otherwise, Tang can continue to push forward and make their people feel fear." Of the 2,000 people, it was estimated that when half or one-third of them died, they would withdraw and replace them with a new batch of people to try their best to defend that position. As for the people who were replaced, they would be responsible for explaining the battle situation to the other people when they returned to their places. For example, what kind of terrain was better, how to react when the enemy charged, and what methods to use to achieve the goal of killing the enemy. Of course, the soldiers we train with will also suffer casualties. After all, they are soldiers who have never fought in a real battle. They need a period of adaptation. The difference is that our losses will be very small. We won't even need to use a ratio of 10 to 1. Li Longji followed up with an analysis. If the commander is not greedy, the loss ratio should be between 20 and 30 to 1. That is, if the enemy loses more than 20 people, we can have one dead or injured person. After all, we have medics following us, but they don't. After hearing Gao Lishe and Li Longji's analysis, Wang Ju was silent for a moment. He lowered his head and pondered for a while. After thinking for a while, he said, "One person in exchange for 20 of them is a little heavy for us. Cuckoo, you have to think of a way to talk to the previous commanders about how to avoid large numbers of casualties. It would be best if the ratio is 1:100, or even to fire more cannons and let fewer people charge forward. What you're saying is that we'll just keep fighting like this and wait until you and Xiaobao are ready before we start the final large-scale battle to deal with Duosha, right? But when that time comes, Duosha will have trained many veterans who can adapt to our offensive style. It won't be easy for you to catch the enemy off guard, and the casualties will increase." "The casualties won't increase." Wang Wan and Wei Wei shook their heads. She knew very well what Zhang Xiaobao meant. When they really fought a large-scale battle, the casualties on their side would be reduced. Without waiting for others to ask, Wang Wan said, "Now that we are fighting with Duosha, we will slowly increase our forces as we grow, forcing Duosha to increase their forces as well. Every time we add a few hundred people, we will fight for 10 days. After a year, we will have tens of thousands of people. Fighting with Duosha will force them to fight even if they don't want to fight. But the battlefield is close to us and far from Duosha, so they will be fighting a long-distance battle. More of their people will die, and more of them will be captured by us. After a few months of fighting, when they feel that they have enough veterans, they will send them to the front lines again. So now, we will try our best to not fire as much as possible and wait for their veterans to come up. We will really catch them off guard. Moreover, if we fight slowly and drag it out, not only will we be exhausting their military strength, but we will also be competing with them in terms of logistics. They need manpower and livestock for transportation, and so do we. However, we can continuously push different logistics groups to the front. The division of labor in our country is very clear. Those who do transportation are responsible for transportation, and those who do farming are only responsible for farming. No matter how many livestock and people are needed for transportation, it is only the needs of the industry itself. It can be adjusted slightly. But Duosha is different. They have to eat, raise livestock, and then let the livestock help transport supplies. We need weapons, and they also need weapons. But we have a strong foundation, and they can't. Their smelting technology is far worse than ours. In addition, we also have new weapons that the research department comes up with from time to time. Through war, we can take them out for testing. After collecting data, we can go back and update and improve them. Record down every small and classic battle. Even if it wasn't done well, record it down and use it as teaching material for others. I believe that Duosha will definitely not gain as much as us in the process of war. They can only keep on giving. When Xiao Bao and I start a large-scale war, they will no longer be able to organize a better resistance. After saying that, Wang Wan sighed helplessly. She didn't like to fight all the time. Although she majored in this field, there were bound to be deaths in war. No matter how advanced the weapons were, there would still be casualties. There were even situations where non-combat casualties occurred. But in this world, there was absolutely no relationship with the word peace. Commercial means were not omnipotent. If the other party didn't want you to mine, you couldn't do it even if you talked. So, you had to solve it through force. If they invaded more people now, they would get more resources and develop more technology. In the future, they would have to pay less. No one was willing to die, but almost everyone wanted to live a better life. Usually, there were people who risked their lives to commit crimes, not to mention this kind of war where killing was not illegal. Now that Great Tang had the absolute advantage, if they didn't take advantage of it, would they have to wait for others to develop and pay a higher price to fight for resources? Wang Wan thought so, but Li Longji and the others didn't consider this problem. They only thought according to what Wang Wan said and analyzed in their hearts. If they were to fight like this, how much would the other party expend and to what extent? The three of them were not unfamiliar with war, and they knew about economic matters. In the past, they had fought many wars, but the difference was that it was different from now. In the past, when they fought, they were always giving, and the benefits in terms of resources were far less than the benefits in terms of status. They fought Tubo time and time again, but the result was that Tubo submitted to them in name. In reality, the land that they won was still Tubo. In fact, the bigger the land, the more stable their rule was. Many people from both sides died, but the result didn't change. At the same time, after each war, the economy of the country would be greatly affected, especially in terms of food. It wasn't just the consumption of food, but also the loss of labor that would result from the deaths in war. But now, there was no need to worry about the economy of the country being shaken. The resources consumed in war were only a small portion of the Great Tang's resources. The true source of consumption was steel. Steel was very important, and the Great Tang used the majority of it to make weapons and train tracks. In some areas, people even used wood for farming. But this didn't mean that the Great Tang didn't have any steel. On that new island, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo had their people increase the mining efficiency. It was hard to say how the two of them were so formidable that their predictions were so accurate. If they said that there were iron mines below, there would definitely be iron mines below. Once they were done fighting Duosher, even if they couldn't immediately subjugate Duosher, they could still force them to give up their land. At that time, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo would be able to immediately say that there were no good mines in the land that Duosher was occupying. Thus, the Great Tang didn't care about fighting a war of attrition with others. If anyone tried to fight a war of attrition with the Great Tang, they would end up dragging their own country down. The three of them calculated the cost and began to feel sorrow for Duosher. If we were the emperor of Duosher, we would immediately withdraw all our people and give up a large portion of the land for the Great Tang to occupy. This would allow us to organize our people and continue to push in other directions. It's better than fighting a war of attrition with the Great Tang and then using this opportunity to attack them from other directions. Alas, their ambitions are too great, but they don't have the strength to support them. I estimate that in a few years, this religiously based country of Duosher will be finished. Li Longji spoke as if he was thinking for the sake of others. From his words, it seemed that he was speaking with the pride of someone who could judge the country, not truly bemoaning the state of the universe and pitying the fate of mankind. Wang Ju and Gao Lishe nodded in agreement. The two of them also understood the final result. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo's model was war, plunder, construction, development, technological improvement, and continuing the war. If their plans were truly too large, then under the protection of military force, they would cooperate with the other side, trade, scheme, and wear down the regime. In any case, no matter which model it was, they were all expanding outward. This was especially true for Xiao Bao's non-military methods under the protection of military force. He was clearly scheming against others, and while others might know that they were being schemed against, they couldn't refuse. It was like poison mixed with honey. As one ate, one would be poisoned, drinking poison to quench one's thirst. Cuckoo, do you and Xiao Bao have any other plans? Gao Lishe felt that the plan that the two of them came up with couldn't be so simple, so he asked. Even if she didn't, he felt that it was enough. He just felt a little lucky. As soon as he asked, Wang Wan nodded and replied, "Yes, war is not the goal. War is only a means. The goal is to improve the lives of the people. Otherwise, who would want to fight a war? Right now, Tang's development has reached a bottleneck. To be more precise, it's because Tang's civil technology has fallen behind, and the new technology has not been fully developed yet. Although Tang is also undergoing changes in production relations, the speed of change can't keep up with the speed of the people's pursuit of resources and culture. Therefore, conflicts are about to erupt. At this time, the first to erupt is definitely the issue of resources. Because our movie hasn't been produced yet, the propaganda and education can't keep up. However, the appearance of all kinds of resources allows the people to see a better life. At the same time, it also widens the gap between people. Our education, childbirth, medical care, and retirement can be free, and the people will have to pay less. However, this doesn't solve the problem. As the channels of information transmission become more perfect, the people understand more about the situation outside. The more one understood, the more one would naturally compare. With comparison, what followed would be pursuit. Pursuit was a better word than comparison. As such, money becomes more important, and other aspects will start to gradually give way. Fortunately, it won't be too serious. At least there is a good emperor, Xiao Bao and I, suppressing them from a very high moral point of view. However, some people are smart, and some are stupid. Naturally, their income will be different. There is a lack of production technology, and it can't be completely transformed into productivity. Therefore, the internal conflicts of the country will gradually intensify. Even if no one rebels, there will be hidden dangers. What should we do? It's war. When there is a war, the people will temporarily put aside their comparisons with the people around them and focus on the survival of the country. Even if they bully others, the people will take it seriously. At the same time, in the process of war, many industries will be affected. These industries will require more manpower, or more industrial workshops. The income of the people will increase, and the number of jobs will increase. When there are more people, there will naturally be people who can think of other ideas to increase productivity. Therefore, new production technology will appear. Not only can it be applied to the industry, but it can also be used in more industries. Then, doesn't this mean that the production technology will catch up with the people's demand for resources? After a series of tongue-twisting words, Wang Wan gasped for breath. It seemed that she was also very tired. After Li Longji and Gao Lishe heard this, they nodded vigorously. They had already heard Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan talk about some of the related matters. However, they didn't expect that the two of them didn't choose to start a war casually. They did so in order to prevent the people from being in a bad mood. After Wang Ju heard this, he was also shocked. After all, he didn't know much. He didn't expect that his grandson and granddaughter-in-law would want to coordinate the lives of the people in the country when other people didn't want to start a war because they were afraid of wasting money and manpower. They were too knowledgeable. Whether to fight or not, and when to fight, there were so many things to pay attention to. Cuckoo, according to what you said, as long as we continue to fight, we will never have to worry about the people in the country rebelling, right? Wang Ju asked. Wang Wan shook her head and said, "We can't always carry out large-scale expeditions. We need to cooperate with Xiao Bao's economic plunder. From time to time, there will be a small-scale battle. It's easy to control, and we can always win. At the same time, the casualties must be very, very few. Otherwise, the families of the soldiers who died will gradually dislike the war. Also, every time we start a war, we have to find an excuse. It's an excuse that is specially made for the people in the country to see. We have to let them think that the Tang Empire is so powerful and so peace-loving, but there are still people who cause trouble, and we have to teach them a lesson. For example, we can't destroy Duo Shi in just a few years or a dozen years. We can destroy their power and political system, but we can't kill everyone and occupy all the land at the same time. In the end, we will achieve our strategic goal and then let Duo-shi split into many small countries. At this time, we will not attack them, but the countries around them, the countries with resources. How do we fight? Tell the people that while we were fighting against Duo-shi, that country was not cooperating and kept trying to stab us in the back. There were several times when we almost lost many good men because of this. This is too big of a threat to our great Tang. Perhaps they will learn from Duo-shi and come here to cause trouble. Do you want to fight and nip the danger in the bud? Wang Ju was stunned for a moment, then nodded. Yes, we have to fight. If we don't fight, how will the resources come? If we don't fight, they will think that we are weak and will come back to kill more people of the Tang Empire. Good, I have also thought of a good idea. Let the people of the Tang Empire go to the countries we haven't attacked. They can travel, play, or buy some specialties there. Then, things will be easy. It is impossible for there to be no conflicts between people, especially between two different countries. As long as our people are wronged, we will have an excuse to go to war. What do you think? Grandfather is indeed amazing, Wang Wan said cooperatively. As they talked, it was time for dinner. The ship was still sailing, and they couldn't reach the island with the beach tonight. They had to wait until noon tomorrow. This was because the wind was good and the ship was fast. During dinner, a large group of people gathered together and there was no need to keep silent. Xiao Bei and the others chattered about the fish and what to do tomorrow. After eating a few mouthfuls, Li Longji stopped and said to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, "When we were discussing matters with the officials of the court, we discovered that the telegram is very useful and fast. It is so far away from the capital, but it takes less than an hour to send a message back and forth. To be precise, it takes slightly more than 3/4 of an hour. Compared to the previous 800 Li emergency report, it is dozens of times faster, perhaps even 100 times faster. Even Shui Yun can't compare to this speed. During war, using telegrams to send a message back and forth takes at least 1/4 of an hour. This is the speed of an immortal." Li Longji sighed. He felt that this telegram conference was the most fun thing to do today. Zhang Xiaobao expressionlessly nodded, meaning that he was right, the speed of an immortal. Wang Wan held back her laughter and lowered her head to eat. "Xiaobao, what do you think can compare to this speed?" Li Longji asked again. However, when Zhang Xiaobao heard his tone, he understood what he meant. He was not asking him but asking a rhetorical question. What he meant was that there was nothing faster than this. As such, Zhang Xiaobao continued to nod. Perhaps there isn't any now. What he meant was that there might be in the future. Furthermore, he used an uncertain word to answer. However, Zhang Xiaobao was cursing in his heart. If this kind of telegram was really useful, why would he and Wang Wan still need to use a satellite phone back then? It actually took 3/4 of an hour to send a message back to the capital from here. If it were a real war back then, 3/4 of an hour would be enough for the other party to launch an air attack. Furthermore, there would be paratroopers landing. The surprise attack, rescue, revenge, and retreat would all be completed. Furthermore, the paratroopers would fly several hundred li away. There was no doubt that the other party could achieve this kind of speed. What will happen in the future? Li Longji noticed Zhang Xiaobao's perfunctory attitude and felt that he was being a little arrogant. As such, he asked humbly, "In the future, there will be people speaking from here. When the people in the capital listen, they will feel that there is no delay in time. In fact, they will even be able to see the people in the capital from here. It will be like watching a movie. If our great Tang has a batch of geniuses, and Cuckoo and I teach them the general theory, they will still be able to see it in their lifetime as long as they don't take any detours. However, at the same time, there will be a need for a line. Just like telegrams, if we don't use a line, then it will still be similar to telegrams. Every set distance, there will be a place to receive and transmit the message. As for a place that doesn't need to be changed between the line and the ground, but directly through another channel, it will probably be very difficult for them to survive until then." Zhang Xiaobao thought about it for a while, and then selectively said it. Sigh. Li Longji sighed. He really wanted to see more advanced technology, but he also knew that time waits for no one. If Xiao Bao and Cuckoo were to research a certain technology on their own, they might be able to get it done very quickly at the beginning. However, when they needed other technologies to help them, it would slow down. At the same time, the two of them didn't have the time to research technology. There were more important things waiting for them. We don't expect to be able to see people anymore. We hope that when we are alive, we will be able to see the people of Great Tang. Every family will be able to use a tool that saves time compared to telegrams. Telegrams are fine too, but not telegrams are probably too difficult. Li Longji lowered his expectations and appeared very sad. It was as if he would lose his life tomorrow. As he spoke, other than Xiao Bei, Zhong Xiaobao, and Wang Wan, the others also revealed sad expressions. Who didn't want to live a little longer and see more of the world? Xiao Bao, is there no way to live forever? Wang Ju asked Zhong Xiaobao in a very low voice. Live forever? Perhaps there is. The development of science is always denial, not acknowledgement. Acknowledgement is temporary, while denial is eternal. However, denial is not the unknown, but something that is already known. It is still too early to talk about it, too early, too early. Zhong Xiaobao couldn't give a more definite answer because he himself didn't know what was going on. This was the development of science. The more one knew, the more one would realize that they were ignorant. Let's eat. Let's not talk about it anymore. Life and death are fated. Riches and honor are up to the heavens. Li Longji used this sentence to end the topic that made him feel depressed. It was better to live one day at a time. It was not worth it to live with worry and not be able to enjoy anything at the end of the day. The next afternoon, on an island that was 3 square kilometers in size, Li Longji and the others changed into their swimsuits and sunbathed on the beach. He finally truly felt the comfort of the beach. As for whether or not his skin would be exposed to the sun, it wasn't something he needed to consider. This was much better than staying in the artificial sea and beach when he was in the capital. Xiao Bei and the others cleverly asked someone to set up a shed for them. They went under the shed and stayed there. When they were in Jili province, they had been injured more than once. Although there were ways to prevent injuries, such as being exposed to the sun every day, like the fishermen by the sea, they would naturally get used to it. However, when they saw the fishermen's dark and rough skin, they decided to hide from the sun as much as possible before they developed sunscreen at home. Xiaobao and Wang Wan also hid. They did not want their bodies to be in pain. If Li Longji was in pain, there was medicine. If they applied a cooling medicine, it might be able to relieve the pain. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei stayed by Li Longji's side. The two of them each had an umbrella on top of them. Beside them was a table with fruit and wine on it. The two of them were also afraid of being exposed to the sun. Li Longji stayed on the recliner for a while, then picked up his binoculars and looked at the sea. He planned to go swimming, but after changing his clothes, he didn't go into the water yet. He was worried that there would be sharks here. Although there was a boat docked at sea and it might serve as an early warning, he was still worried. After a while, Xiao Bei and the others went swimming. Li Longji finally mustered up his courage and waved at Zhong Xiaobao. Xiaobao, I'll accompany you for a swim. Zhong Xiaobao was eating when he heard Li Longji's call. He felt helpless. He knew that Li Longji was afraid of sharks and was always worried about the dangers under the water. Seeing that he was being called over, no matter what the reason was, he had to go down. Zhong Xiaobao and Li Longji entered the water one after another. When they entered the water, there was a circle of people around them. Some of them were holding spears, while others were holding crossbows. The crossbow bolts were very thin, like chopsticks. The main purpose was to make Li Longji feel more comfortable and less worried. There were waves on the beach, but they weren't big. They rose and fell in waves, making people feel very comfortable in the water. Li Longji swam for a quarter of an hour, then suddenly stepped on the water and came to Zhong Xiaobao's side. He held Zhong Xiaobao's arm with one hand and gently moved the other hand in the water. He said to Zhong Xiaobao, "Xiaobao, you better think of a way. I think this place is not bad. It can be used as a tourist hotspot in the future. It can attract more rich people to spend their money here. I think it's cheap to spend 100 strings of coins here. Not only is the water good, but the scenery is also beautiful. The buoyancy is also not small, and there are small fish below. It's like a fairyland. What do you think? Li Longji was full of confidence when he spoke. His voice was steady, and it didn't feel like it was difficult for ordinary people to speak while swimming. It seemed to be related to the fact that the buoyancy was not small. Zhang Xiaobao's body was currently shorter than Li Longji, and only the part above his collarbone was above the water. It couldn't be helped. As a part of the buoyancy, he naturally had to be pushed down. Hearing Li Longji's suggestion, Zhang Xiaobao thought for a moment, then shook his head and said, "The island is too small, and it's easy to disturb the rest of the people guarding the lighthouse. But we can change to another place, which is the end of the world. When your Majesty is tired of staying here, we can go to the end of the world." "Oh, that's fine. Are there sharks there?" Li Longji asked. "In theory, there are, but there aren't many. It's not like other places where there are more sharks," Zhang Xiaobao answered. He didn't understand what Li Longji meant. "Let me test you. Can you make it so that sharks can't get close? In a situation where you don't need a lot of people to protect you, you can't send a large number of people to surround the sea when other people go sightseeing, right?" When Li Longji talked about sharks, his eyes warily looked into the distance. It didn't matter if he could see them or not. In any case, it was for psychological comfort. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao understood. Li Longji wanted to find a way to prevent sharks from biting him so that he could swim to his heart's content. It was mainly because he was swimming with Empress Wang. Otherwise, it would be uncomfortable to have so many people watching them. In the end, he didn't say it directly. Instead, he asked in the name of thinking of a way for himself. Chapter 11:19. Facing Li Longji's expectant gaze, Zhang Xiaobao was very afraid that if he said no, Li Longji would put more weight on him, the person who provided the buoyancy. After thinking for a while, Zhang Xiaobao said to Li Longji, "There is a way. However, when the time comes, not only will the sharks not be able to come over, but the other fish that are slightly bigger will also be unlucky and die." "What's the way? Are you going to use cannons? Don't distinguish between each other?" Li Longji asked. "Just set up a few nets around the outside. When the time comes, not to mention sharks, other fish will also come over. Moreover, if they are not careful, they will hit the net and be entangled in it and die. Therefore, under normal circumstances, it is better not to use it if possible. After all, many fish will die, and they are very innocent." Zhang Xiaobao said the way. When he said it, he was still thinking about what people said about shark nets in the past. When he finished, he realized that people nowadays did not care about whether other fish would die or not. Their realm was not that high. Sure enough, when Li Longji heard that only nets would work, he immediately became happy and said, Good idea. Let's do it this way. Arrange for people to find a suitable place to swim around the ends of the earth and then set up a few more layers of nets around the outside. Once I'm done here, I will go and play immediately. You must do it well." After Li Longji gave the order, he was finally in a good mood. He raised his hand and gave up on Zhang Xiaobao, the one who provided the buoyancy, and swam towards the shore. Soon, he stepped on the sand and came to Empress Wang and Wu Huifei. He smiled at them and said, "It won't take long. I will protect you and go into the water together. You don't need to worry about sharks anymore." Empress Wang and Wu Huifei looked at each other. At this moment, they had the same thought. His Majesty was really good at talking nonsense. Who was afraid of sharks? Although they thought so, they said at the same time, "Thank you, Your Majesty." "It's nothing. When I was in the water just now, Xiaobao told me about a place with good scenery. He was worried that the tourists would be bitten by sharks, so he asked for my opinion. I thought of a good idea for him. Guess what it is? Actually, it was very simple. Sharks were also fish. What should he do with fish? Other fish can be caught, so can sharks. Other fish can be caught with a net, so can sharks. Since that's the case, why don't we set up a net around it? Li Longji was in a good mood, so he deliberately raised his voice. His purpose was to disgust Zhang Xiaobao. So what if I made your idea mine? Zhang Xiaobao raised his hand in the water and gave Li Longji a thumbs up. His meaning was, Your Majesty, you're really amazing. You're not just reversing black and white anymore. You've already reached the realm of deciding the universe with a single word. Li Longji would give Zhang Xiaobao a smile with many meanings, just like a smile of some sort. Wang Wan also heard Li Longji's words and couldn't help but laugh. She said to Xiao Bei, who was building the Great Wall on the beach, Look at how smart your Uncle Emperor is. Xiao Bei didn't pay attention to other people's matters. When he heard his sister's words, he raised his head and looked around blankly. After thinking for a while, he said, That's right. I'll go ask Uncle Emperor how to preserve the sand on the beach. When the tide rises, my Great Wall should be gone. As he spoke, Xiao Bei really did find Li Longji to ask for a solution. This time, Li Longji didn't need to ask Zhang Xiaobao. He said to Xiao Bei, It's very simple. You just need to get people to set up a wall around it, so it won't be washed away by the water. Right. Put your Great Wall inside. Remember, the wall has to be waterproof. Xiao Bei nodded his head. Thank you, Uncle Emperor. That's a good idea. If I build a shed on top of it, I won't have to worry about it being washed away by the rain, right? Xiao Bei is so smart. Go ahead. Li Longji patted Xiao Bei's head and encouraged him. Xiao Bei pouted and came back. He said to the other children, Actually, I thought of a better idea. We can bring the sand home and put it in the house. That way, we won't be afraid of the tide. Ha ha ha. While Li Longji's group was enjoying their leisurely days, some people were extremely anxious. It turned out that Takashita Junichiro was the only one who was anxious. He was the first to gather information. When he realized that things were going to be troublesome, he chased after Li Longji and the others. He met with Xiao Bei and reached an agreement. He was still in Japan and hadn't returned yet. However, he probably wasn't too happy about it. Other than him, there was also Duosha. The reason he gathered 2,000 people there was to find an excuse to talk. In the end, they didn't know that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't want to listen to their plan. Even if they weren't involved in this matter, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan still wanted to attack them. Since they were involved, there was no need to say anything. All kinds of excuses would be useless. Other than Duosha, there was also the original Tubo people who didn't agree to surrender and started to flee. They didn't need to worry about them. The moment they were captured, everything else was over. Tubo wouldn't worry about them being captured. After all, they were still wanted by Tubo. Tang would not blame Tubo for this. The other people who were worried were the small countries or tribes in the southwest. They received the news late. When they found out that their people and the people from other places joined forces and failed, they began to feel anxious. Initially, they thought there was no big problem. Fortunately, they received the news a little late. However, they still knew that the Emperor of Tang, Zhang Xiaobao, and Wang Wan were heading to Luzhou. Hence, they sent their men to the seaside. They boarded boats and hurried toward Luzhou at the fastest speed possible. At the same time, they brought along precious gifts in hopes of meeting the Emperor of Great Tang. Then, they would think of a way to absolve themselves of their responsibility and prevent the Great Tang from sending troops to attack them. The leader of this operation was someone who had been to Tang before. He was also the representative of one of the tribes. He could not care less about the other tribes. All he wanted was to remove his tribe from the blame. His name was Li Jianqing. Naturally, his surname was given to him. His original name was not important. What was important was that since he had a name given to him by the Emperor of Tang, the chances of them meeting would be higher. Perhaps, the Emperor of Tang would forgive his tribe. With this thought in mind, Li Jianqing did not rest much along the way. He wanted to reach Luzhou as soon as possible. Otherwise, what if the Emperor of Tang returned to the capital? In the end, Li Longji was very fast. When he arrived at Luzhou, he did not return to the capital. Instead, he was on a ship that was heading to the ends of the earth. The net to trap the sharks was already set. Li Longji wanted to go and pluck a few coconuts himself and drink the water inside to see if it was as delicious as the legend said. When he was in the capital, he could drink and eat the coconut meat. However, the distance was too far. When the good stuff was shipped over, the taste would change. It was not as good as the local ones. If he had Shui Yun deliver the coconuts, he might be able to eat some fresh ones. However, no matter how much Li Longji wanted to eat, he could not bear to let Shui Yun do this. However, this time, he could finally taste it. Although he was anxious to stay on the boat, he did not order the fleet to speed up. It was not that he did not want to, but he could not. There were not many ships in the fleet. There were 2 gunboats, a troop transport ship, and a supply ship. There were 4 ships in total. However, there were many ships following behind the 4 ships. These ships were equipped with a telegraph system to prevent Li Longji from being unable to contact other places if he was too far away. Hence, they had to know where Li Longji was going to go next before they could make preparations. This was why Li Longji did not dare to rush them. He did not mind if they slowed down. It was better than losing contact with the royal court. What if something urgent happened? He was not anxious to stay on the boat. However, Li Jianqing was anxious. He hurried to Luzhou. The people of Luzhou did not do anything to him. They did not even treat him with hostility. They treated him normally. However, when he wanted to see the emperor, the people were powerless. The people from the Chamber of Commerce told him that the emperor had gone out. He might take a long trip before returning to the capital. Li Jianqing, naturally, had to ask about the emperor's general location. Usually, it was dangerous for him to ask about the emperor's whereabouts. He could easily be arrested. Was it his place to ask about the emperor's whereabouts? However, the people from the Chamber of Commerce were hinted by Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan when they came over. Hence, they were easy to talk to. They told Li Jianqing that the emperor had gone out to sea with the young master and young madam. They were heading west, but they did not know where they were heading to. Li Jianqing was smart. When he heard that the emperor was heading west, he asked if the emperor had brought an army with him. However, the people from the Chamber of Commerce smiled and said, "His Majesty is going out with so many important people on board. How can he not have an army with him?" Not only did he have an army, but they were all elites with outstanding combat prowess. They were not ordinary people. Hence, the smart Li Jianqing made the same mistake as Takashita Junichiro. He thought the emperor was not going out to play. Instead, he thought the emperor was going to attack his own tribe. Of course, Takashita Junichiro was able to deduce that the great Tang was going to attack Japan because of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. However, what Li Jianqing thought of was something that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not consider. In their view, there was no need to send an army to scare those small factions in the southwest. Moreover, the goal was not to make them surrender, but to make use of their people. When the time came, they would just send someone to inform them that the emperor was very angry and put forward conditions that seemed to be beneficial to them. They would happily agree. How could Li Jianqing know that he would be treated differently? Seeing that the great Tang emperor had gone out, he was worried. Hence, he began to bribe the people from the Chamber of Commerce. He liked doing this. Initially, he was worried that the people from the Chamber of Commerce were from the Zhang family and the Wang family and would not accept his gift. He did not expect the other party to accept the gift so easily. He even opened the gift and looked at the large pearls and jade inside. He kept nodding his head, looking very happy. When Li Jianqing breathed a sigh of relief, another thought rose in his mind. He looked at the people from the Chamber of Commerce opposite him and wondered if he could find a breakthrough through them in the future. At first, he thought that the people from the Zhang family and the Wang family would not accept any bribes. After all, the main family was powerful. However, he guessed that they were far away. In Lu Zhou's opinion, the main family was in the capital and the northern part of Hebei province. Since he could bribe the people from the Chamber of Commerce, could he bribe the people from the Zhang family and the Wang family who were closer to him? This was the most profitable place. Although he was close to the Chamber of Commerce, his income was far less than Lu Zhou's. The same gift should be more valuable to the people from the Zhang family and the Wang family. Therefore, Li Jianqing asked someone to take out another gift and give it to the people from the Chamber of Commerce. Then, he asked the people from the Chamber of Commerce if they had any good ideas to catch up with the emperor. It would be best if they could slow down the emperor a little. The people from the Chamber of Commerce accepted the gift and helplessly told Li Jianqing that they had no way to stop the emperor. However, the madams of the Zhang family and the Wang family were in Lu Zhou. If they spoke, it was possible to ask the madams of the main family to cooperate with them. For example, they could ask the emperor to play somewhere for a few more days. After that, the people from the Chamber of Commerce looked at Li Jianqing and said that they were willing to help introduce the emperor. However, it was not easy. It was not easy to introduce an outsider to the madams of the main family. Li Jianqing understood as soon as he heard that. The other party still wanted something, so he had to ask someone to bring another gift and give it to the people from the Chamber of Commerce. He also told them that if they succeeded, they would be rewarded handsomely. When the people from the Chamber of Commerce came back an hour later, they told Li Jianqing that the madams of the main family would come out for a walk shortly after lunch. This was the best opportunity. Li Jianqing began to despise the Zhang family and the Wang family, who were worshipped like gods by the people of Great Tang. If it had been anyone else, they would have definitely been beaten to death. Everyone said that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were frightening, but they were only Oso. If they couldn't even teach a single servant, how could they hope to govern the entire Great Tang? Li Jianqing cursed in his heart and began to wait anxiously. He waited for noon to come. Then, when the madams of the Zhang family and the Wang family came out for a walk after lunch, he went up to them and took out more gifts, asking them to do him a small favor. When it was almost noon, the people from the Chamber of Commerce came back and gave Li Jianqing a lot of food. They said that with his status, he could go to Hai Yunjian restaurant and order whatever he wanted. It did not matter who ate, so there was no difference. They ordered a table of good food and wine. When he saw the food and wine, Li Jianqing was not in the mood to eat. He did not dare to drink, nor did he dare to eat. Instead, he went to take a bath and put on incense. He was afraid that his body would have a different smell and make the madams of the Zhang family and the Wang family feel disgusted. But when he saw the food and wine, he was even more relieved. At this rate, it would not be long before the Zhang family and the Wang family rotted from the roots. No matter how rich they were, they could not afford to squander like this. Noon slowly passed. Li Jianqing, who was anxiously waiting, finally received a signal from the people from the Chamber of Commerce. He went alone with many precious gifts and headed to the place where the madams of the Zhang family and the Wang family were going to stroll. He had to go there first so that he could wait for them to arrive. When he arrived, he found a gazebo. According to the people from the Chamber of Commerce, the two madams would be resting in the gazebo. But contrary to what Li Jianqing expected, there was already a person in the gazebo. Li Jianqing leaned over in surprise and took the initiative to ask, "May I ask who you are?" This official is the provincial governor of Lu Zhou. "Who are you, and why are you here?" The person looked at Li Jianqing warily and asked. Chapter 11:20. After Su Mingyang asked the question, he stared at the person with a puzzled expression, wondering the purpose of the other party's visit. At the same time, he was very vigilant and faintly afraid. He was not afraid that the person would steal anything from him, but he was worried that his whereabouts would be exposed, which would attract people with ulterior motives. If that was the case, he would rather go back and continue to eat rice with salted vegetables than wait here and look for an opportunity. Li Jianqing was also puzzled. He came here to meet the madams of the Zhang family and the Wang family to discuss the matter over there, hoping to get a chance to repent. Why was there another person here? It was the provincial governor of this province. If it were the provincial governor of other places, he might be a little worried, but it was Lu Zhou. Lu Zhou had never had any power in the past few years, so there was no need to be afraid. Therefore, Li Jianqing puffed out his chest and said to Su Mingyang, "I'm the president of the Nanzhao office in the Great Tang Nation. I'm here to discuss national affairs. It's not convenient for me to tell you the details. It's best for you to go back and continue to recuperate, so as not to ruin the important matter. Su Mingyang was shocked at first, but then he was relieved. He was shocked because he thought that the people of the country who caused trouble in Great Tang had been arrested in the news he received 2 days ago. There were still people who did not give up and wanted to continue to assassinate the madams of the Zhong family and the Wang family. This was what he was afraid of just now. It was not easy for him to contact the people of the Chamber of Commerce. He even said a lot of good words to get a chance to meet the madams of the Zhong family and the Wang family. She wanted to say something soft and let her off. Otherwise, she would have to continue eating. She couldn't buy anything else except for salted vegetables. Ever since she went out to buy things twice, her method had been seen through. There were people watching every door in her residence. Every person who went out to buy things was followed all the way. When he said that he wanted to buy something, the person who followed him would immediately tell the identity of the person in the mansion to the seller. As a result, he could not eat the dishes cooked by others. He planned to wait for the emperor and then plead with him. Who would have thought that the emperor would go to sea and not return for a few days? He could not stand it anymore. Apart from the children in his family who could go out to buy candy, no one else could eat anything. It was precisely because there were children who were able to buy candy that they deduced that the Zhong family and Wang family were lenient and did not intend to exterminate them. Otherwise, why would their precious candy house sell candy to their own children? After racking his brains, he contacted the people from the Chamber of Commerce and said that he would wait here today. If someone came to harm the madams of the Zhong family and Wang family, the madams would naturally not be in any danger. No matter how powerful a person was, they would not be able to break through the defense line formed by the guards. However, he would definitely be crippled. Everyone would think that he was the one who leaked the news. At that time, he wouldn't be able to explain himself even if he had a mouth. Fortunately, the person who had come was from Nanzhao and had already stated his identity. There would probably be people who would specifically investigate. He seemed to be very familiar with this name. However, there was a slight difference. It was different from what he remembered. After thinking about it, Su Mingyang finally knew what the difference was. He asked with uncertainty, "You said your name is Li Jianqing? But why have I only heard of the name Zhang Jianqing? You came to the Great Tang before? Are you sure you're not a spy?" He only asked Li Jianqing about this matter and did not ask about the office. Now, the names were all messed up. There were all kinds of names that he had learned from the Zhong family and Wang family. For example, if a business had to be called a group, how could a person who sold breakfast in the county have a group? The name was impressive, but the problem was that his strength was not up to par. If he were to talk about Xiao Bei and the other children, it was still acceptable to call his precious candy house a group. After all, they opened many shops. Sigh, people were really hard to understand. Su Mingyang shook his head helplessly, but he had no intention of leaving. He was not allowed to listen to what national affairs. Nanzhao could be considered a country. In the past, it was a very honest place, unlike other places. In the past, it was always flirting with Tubo. But now it had changed. They actually joined forces with other places and came to the Great Tang to cause trouble. Were the Zhong family and Wang family so easy to deal with? He was just disrespectful with his words, and as a result, he was facing the situation of starvation. You came to cause trouble, and now you dare to be so self-righteous? How could Li Jianqing know how much this provincial governor, who had no actual power, was thinking? Seeing that the other party had no intention of leaving and asked if he was a spy, he puffed out his chest and replied, "Zhang Jianqing is me, Li Jianqing is also me. Names are just names. I am still me. Is the surname Li not good? Today, I want to see the madams of the Zhong family and Wang family. Do you want to steal information? Don't set a trap for me. Why do you mention the surname Li? Is the surname Zhang not good? If you insist on changing it, I will steal information. I am an official of the imperial court. Who am I stealing information for?" When you see people coming, Stay 50 steps away from them. You are not allowed to come closer. Otherwise, I will arrest you on the spot. Su Mingyang was not fooled. The emperor's surname was Li. Who dared to say that it was not good? Li Jianqing glared at Su Mingyang but did not say anything else. He felt that the other party did not have any power and he could not use him. It was not worth it to waste time on the other party, let alone give him a gift. For a moment, the two of them fell silent at the same time. Both of them had thought of what was going on. The madams of the Zhang family and Wang family had probably arranged the time of the meeting at the same time. Who told the other party to be so heavy? Once he came out, he had to solve two problems at the same time. The two of them waited for a while. The sun seemed to be shining brighter. Although it could not shine on the pavilion, it was still stuffy and unbearable. Just as the two of them were thinking about whether or not they should find a place to drink some water, a group appeared on the main road that they had just passed through. Some of them were riding horses, some were running on the ground with weapons, and some were in charge of drying water on the road in front. There was no smoke or dust at all. At this time, apart from the madams of the Zhang family and the Wang family, there was no one else in Luzhou. Not to mention that they could not command the army. Even if they pretended to be dressed in the army's uniform, they would not dare to put on such a show. That would be a provocation to the Zhang family and the Wang family. Without the Zhang family and the Wang family, the local people would tear them apart. As expected, when the group got closer, the flags could be seen clearly. It was the group of the two madams. After a while, the people in front of them came to the pavilion and said to Su Mingyang and Li Jianqing, "Search them. When there is no danger, step back 20 steps and talk to the madams. Don't look up and don't take a step forward. Otherwise, you will be suspected of having the intention to harm the madams." As soon as the voice fell, a few people came over and began to search them. The two of them were prepared. They did not bring anything with them. They even took off all their decorations, afraid that they would be misunderstood. After they were searched and confirmed that there was no danger, the two of them retreated from the pavilion. As expected, they stood 20 steps away from the pavilion and basked in the warmth of the sunny afternoon. When everything was ready, the two madams of the Jiang Wang clan, with their big bellies, entered the pavilion with the help of the maidservants. However, they did not hide in the shade. Instead, they sat in a spot where the sun shone in slightly and covered their heads with a thin layer of gauze. It was sunbathing. A pregnant woman could not stay in a cold place for too long. Otherwise, she would get sick. Jiang Wang clan whispered a few words to Madame Wang. Madame Wang sat at the side and listened attentively. She could only watch the Jiang Wang clan deal with matters related to the country and learn from them. Jiang Wang clan turned around and looked at Su Mingyang. She asked softly, "Lord Su, why are you looking for me?" Su Mingyang watched as Jiang Wang clan's mouth moved. He tried to guess what the other party said. 20 steps was not far, but it was impossible to hear if they spoke in a low voice. Fortunately, he did not have to guess blindly. Someone passed the words to him and repeated what Jiang Wang clan said. Su Mingyang felt very sullen. The current situation was that he, a third-rank official, was not treated as a third-rank official. It was as if he was a seventh-rank official. Even a woman could step on his head. Dissatisfaction rose in his heart, but he tried to suppress it. He was afraid that someone would see through it. He put on a respectful expression and said loudly, "This official has a request. When Madam came, this official's words offended you. Now, I can't spend money to buy food. If you don't let this official go, this official's family will starve to death. This official also knows that this matter has nothing to do with Madam. It was the people who acted on their own initiative. Please help me say something. Sigh, this official really has no other choice." When Su Mingyang spoke, his face was red. Even his neck was red. Of course, it had nothing to do with the hot weather. It was because he was begging for help. Moreover, it was too embarrassing to lower his status. However, even if it was embarrassing, he had to say it loudly. It was not only for the Zhang clan and Wang clan to hear, but also for the people of Luzhou. Otherwise, Even if he survived the current crisis, the people would still hate him after he left. The people's hearts were too powerful. He could not mobilize the army to help him. He did not have the authority. The only people he could order around were the Yamen runners. However, he could not do that now. The Yamen runners were recruited from the local area. Moreover, when he thought about it, it was not too embarrassing. Even if other people bowed to the madam of the Zhong clan and Wang clan, it was normal. After all, their son and daughter were powerful and influential. Jiang Wang clan did not know that Su Mingyang, the provincial governor of Luzhou, was almost starved to death by the people under his rule. It was hard to believe. Even the informant did not tell her clearly. He only said that Su Mingyang wanted to see him. It was not a big deal. He just wanted to see him. At this moment, both Jiang Wang clan members knew about it. They felt helpless and touched. As expected, Luzhou was their Luzhou. Their efforts in the past were not in vain. The people were always supporting them. I see. I'm sorry to have troubled Lord Su. When I return, I'll talk to the person in charge of Sea Cloud Sect. How could they treat an official of the imperial court like this? I'll ask them to prepare a special banquet for Lord Su as an apology. Since it was not a big deal, Jiang Wang clan did not plan to say much. She had no intention of continuing to be close to Su Mingyang. She did not expect him to be grateful. After she finished speaking, Jiang Wang clan looked at Li Jianqing again. She studied him carefully. In her mind, she was going over the things she had thought of earlier. She wanted to see if there was anything she had missed out. Her son and daughter-in-law wanted to temporarily let go of the power in the southwest. If that was the case, she had to be careful when she spoke. She could not let the other party think that it was impossible, but she could not let the other party feel too relaxed. After all, she had done something wrong. While she was thinking, Su Mingyang knew that it was time for him to leave. He immediately said something respectfully and left. As soon as he left, the guards who belonged to him came over. They looked very loyal and protected him. When he came here, he was alone. The guards would not follow him. He did not dare to bring his own family members with him. It was better for him to be humble. Now that he saw the guards appear again, he knew that they came with the madams of Zhong clan and Wang clan. Su Mingyang did not even feel angry. He sat back in the carriage that he came here personally. Without saying anything, he ordered the guards to go in the direction of the mansion. Li Jianqing lowered his head. He wanted to raise his head to look at the madams of Zhong clan and Wang clan. However, he was worried that if he raised his head, he would not be able to lower it anymore. Or rather, his head would fall to the ground and he would never need to raise it again. Yes, that was very likely. Therefore, he could only tilt his head slightly to the side and look at them from the corner of his eyes. However, he could not see anything clearly. It was just a blurry image. He only knew the general location. He waited for Jiang Wang clan to ask him. As he waited, he felt that time passed very slowly. It was only a few seconds, but it seemed like he had waited for a long time. He was anxious and worried that he would not be able to achieve his goal. Li Jianqing? From Nanzhao? What is it? When I was in Hangzhou, I heard a lot about you. Finally, Zhang Wangshe spoke. As soon as she spoke, she had the intention of condemning him. Li Jianqing directly knelt down. The guards who were staring at him were shocked. They thought that he was going to do something. Replying to Madam, my tribe did not intend to offend the great Tang. Instead, there were various people who acted on their own initiative and were deceived. They came to the great Tang and colluded with people from Japan, Duoshe, and other places to harm the great Tang. At this time, my lord has already learned of this and will severely punish them. This lowly one has come this time to ask for punishment. Li Jianqing did not dare to say that he was not guilty. Instead, he explained what he had done. When Jiang Wang clan heard this, she did not immediately say anything. Instead, she stretched her hand to the side. Immediately, a maid beside her brought over warm water. After drinking 2 mouthfuls of water, Jiang Wang clan said to the sweating Li Jianqing They did not intend to hurt the Tang Empire, but they have already caused the Tang Empire to suffer heavy losses. Besides direct economic losses, they have also caused the Tang Empire to lose many lives. They have also disrupted many of our arrangements, making it impossible for us to make timely adjustments. Logically speaking, we should have sent soldiers, but His Majesty was soft-hearted. My son also felt that Nanzhao was not easy, so this matter was delayed. You do not need to worry too much right now. As for how to deal with this matter, you just need to wait patiently. Jiang Wang clan deliberately said this. She already knew why Li Jianqing had come. Her son and daughter-in-law had accompanied the emperor to play, but they had been misunderstood. They did not intend to send soldiers to the southwest, and they certainly did not intend to scare them now. However, the emperor's every move affected the hearts of many people. As expected, when Li Jianqing heard Jiang Wang clan's words, he was even more skeptical. He believed that they were delaying and deceiving him. Then, they would not agree to anything and would only let him know when someone really went to fight. He wanted to wait, but did he dare to continue waiting? If he waited, he would probably receive news of the country's destruction. Although he was anxious, Li Jianqing did not dare to say that they had sent soldiers. He had no evidence. Since they had said that they were going out to play, he could only hint at them indirectly. After thinking hard, Li Jianqing carefully said, "Many thanks for Madam's information, but this lowly one is unable to calm down and is panicking. On the way here, my lord repeatedly told this lowly one that this lowly one must not forget to tell the people of the Great Tang that we, Nanzhao, will do our utmost to compensate the Great Tang. If we hurt the common people and need to use blood and human heads as consolation, my lord's head can be offered at any time. There is no need for the Great Tang to send soldiers, and it will be even more costly and costly. This lowly one does not dare to forget." Li Jianqing's meaning was very clear. He meant to say, "Don't hit me. I'm already willing to let you kill me, so what's the point? In any case, I'm just lying down and waiting to be slaughtered, so please be merciful." Jiang Wang clan yawned and thought about it again. She felt that she should give Li Jianqing some hope. Otherwise, the plans of her son and daughter-in-law would be easily disrupted. If the Great Tang had other ideas, it would be troublesome if it was always trembling and could not cooperate so well. She then said to Li Jianqing, "I already know about this matter. How about this? I'll lend you a telegram. You can go and contact His Majesty. At the same time, rest more and wait for the future." "Many thanks, madam. This lowly one is very grateful." "Many thanks, madam." Li Jianqing began to kowtow and thank her. He was afraid that he would not even have a chance. Now, he was a little relieved. "Go and talk to the provincial governor. The provincial governor will arrange for you. You can stay in the residence for the next few days. Think of a way to contact your side so that the other tribes will not be too worried." Jiang Wang clan wanted to lean back, but immediately, someone blocked in front of her to block the sun. This was considered an audience. The reason why she did not use her identity to send the telegram was because she did not want a woman to be involved in politics at this time. Li Jianqing also knew this reason, but he did not agree. There was no need to worry about the madams of the Zhong clan and Wang clan. He thanked her again and got up to chase after Su Mingyang. But at this time, Jiang Wang clan suddenly spoke again. "Logically speaking, we should kill a few more people to appease the public. But us two sisters are pregnant. It is really for the sake of the child." Yes, it must be a blessing from the heavens," Li Jianqing hurriedly said. He already knew what to do. After compensating for the loss of the Tang Empire, they would have to take out more things to give the two pregnant women. The value of the things could not be lower. Perhaps they would have to take out a few years of the clan's savings. Thinking about how to give out the things, he walked around the outside and looked in the direction of the state capital. He found that Su Mingyang's group had become a black dot. He sighed helplessly and chased after them. If he knew it would be like this, he would not have let Su Mingyang leave first. He was clearly tormenting him. Tormenting him is better than not giving him a chance to torment himself. After Li Jianqing left, Jiang Wang clan revealed a smile. She said to Wang Shi, "Sister, that's good. When the child is born, there will be a lot of toys." I still remember that Xiao Bei used pearls to hit the marble floor like a rubber ball. It was so fun. Sister, you're right. We need to save some extra money for our children. Wang Shi paused for a moment and immediately followed up. She did not expect that her in-law would learn from Xiao Bao and start to calculate other people's money. Who would believe her if she told others? Li Jianqing found Su Mingyang. Soon, he contacted Li Longji in the name of the provincial governor. When he contacted him, Li Longji was swimming with his 2 women. He kept playing in the water as if he had never seen water before. The people around him all stayed far away. In order to not let Li Longji drown, they even sent people to spread sand under the area where he was swimming. Unless he put his head in the water himself, otherwise, when he stood up straight, the water would only reach Wu Huifei's neck. She was the shortest person. When the telegram arrived, Zhang Xiaobao took it to Li Longji and ruined his happy mood. "What made you come in such a hurry?" Li Longji asked unhappily. He had already seen the paper in Zhang Xiaobao's hand. Needless to say, it was a telegram. Zhang Xiaobao had already strolled over. When he heard Li Longji's words, he knew that he was having a good time and had disturbed him. But, to what extent could he do? Could it be that Li Longji dared to have sex in broad daylight? What a joke! Zhang Xiaobao cursed inwardly. He shook the paper in his hand and said to Li Longji, "Your Majesty, Luzhou sent a report saying that a man named Li Jianqing from Nanzhao has arrived in Luzhou. However, when he heard that we were here, he thought that we were secretly sending troops to attack Nanzhao. Hence, he looked for my mother and asked her to plead for mercy. He's currently in the mansion, worried. Why did you come to me for such a small matter? Didn't you and Cuckoo already make arrangements? Why bother me?" Li Longji was surprised to hear that Li Jianqing was here. He remembered that Li Jianqing's surname was Zhang when he first arrived. Hence, he came to deal with Li Jianqing. However, Xiao Bao and Cuckoo had already made the decision. Zhang Xiaobao was not anxious, nor was he angry. He acted as though he already knew what was going on. He said, "You're right, Your Majesty. Cuckoo and I have already discussed this. Hence, I wanted to speak to you about it." "Speak, speak. I'll listen and see if you can tell me anything. What I mean is that if there's anything you need to do in the future, just do it. There's no need to talk to me about it, especially under such circumstances. Understand?" Li Longji sighed and walked out of the water. He knew that things would not be simple. Otherwise, the 2 of them would have made arrangements immediately. Zhang Xiaobao waited for Li Longji to come up. He hastily brought a bucket of fresh water to Li Longji so that he could rinse himself. This was to prevent the seawater from drying up and the salt from damaging his skin. "It's like this, Your Majesty. The result of my discussion with Cuckoo is that Your Majesty will personally issue an edict and order the leaders of the Southwest Zhao to personally come here and ask for forgiveness. Then, you can talk to them about cooperating with them. That is, helping them develop. Anyway, this place isn't too far from there, and you'll arrive in a few days. It just so happens that you can also play some other things there and walk around more. If you want to come back again in the future, who knows when it will be." Zhang Xiaobao waited for Li Longji to finish rinsing himself. As he spoke, he passed a towel to Li Longji. Li Longji took the towel and paused. "Not too far. It'll take at least a month to come here from Nanzhao, right? Can we play for that long? Why are you tormenting them? Just tell them that you're scheming against them." "Oh, I mean cooperating with them. The sooner we cooperate, the sooner we'll have more resources to use. Besides, it's not certain if they'll dare to come. They'll have to be worried that they won't be able to return alive. Do you think they'll be able to live if they don't come? Their life or death doesn't depend on where they are. It depends on whether we want to kill them or not. A month is a month. It's not that long anyway. Cuckoo and I aren't in a hurry. Your Majesty, you don't have anything else to do in the capital, right?" Zhang Xiaobao continued to persuade Li Longji. Li Longji, indeed, wanted to play more. However, he had a feeling that Zhang Xiaobao's motives were not as simple as they seemed. After mulling over it for a moment, realization dawned on him. Oh, I get it now. You want to stay here until your younger brothers and sisters are born. If I'm not here, you're worried that I'll have to look for you on my way back. You're worried that I'll ask you to go back and discuss it with me. So, you want me to stay here so that you won't have to worry about me, right? Not at all. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head vigorously. He firmly denied Li Longji's words. This subject is wholeheartedly serving the country. How can I not know my priorities? Besides, this subject is not a doctor. Even if there's a need for surgery, this subject can't personally perform it. Hence, this subject has never considered my own interests. This subject's loyalty. All right. You don't have to continue. I'm getting goosebumps from listening to you. If your words came from Xiao Bei and the others, I might be able to believe them. As for you, you know what I mean. Give me 2 more reasons. I'll listen to them and stay. Otherwise, I'll leave immediately and take you with me. Li Longji did not wait for Zhang Xiaobao to finish his mushy words. He hastily interrupted him and took the piece of paper from Zhang Xiaobao's hand. Without looking at the contents, he folded the paper twice and fanned it like a small fan. When Zhang Xiaobao saw that Li Longji did not believe him, he had no choice but to explain, this subject wants them to come over. When they come, they can't cross mountains like the special forces. At the very least, the roads have to be repaired. Even if they're close to the sea, they can't possibly arrange for their accommodation to be near the sea. If they repair the roads, it'll save us a lot of trouble. When they see you, you can tell them the benefits and the importance of transportation. When they return, they'll carefully repair the roads. Even if it takes a long time, it won't be a waste of our time. Isn't that a good thing? That's it. Li Longji asked again. He did not believe that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's plan would be so simple. In addition, you can put on a show for the Japanese to make them feel that the pressure is great. This isn't something that can be resolved with a simple compensation. You can have the Japanese send their own ministers over to ask for punishment, just like what happened in the Southwest. With the people in the Southwest serving as an example, and you not doing anything to them, instead giving them benefits, the Japanese will be much more at ease after hearing this news. I can also speak to them indirectly and ask them to send someone over. When the time comes, the matter with my mother will be more or less resolved. Zhang Xiaobao passed another cup of wine to Li Longji as he explained his other objectives. Li Longji narrowed his eyes and thought hard. What did he mean by having the Japanese come over? Did he really not punish them for their crimes? And give them benefits? That didn't seem right. Back then, they had agreed to give the Japanese a serious blow, not use a soft knife to stab them like they did in the Southwest. As he pondered what benefits the Japanese would bring to the Great Tang, Li Longji stared at Zhang Xiaobao's face as if he wanted to see the answer from Zhang Xiaobao's face. At this time, Wu Huifei had also finished showering and came over to listen. When she heard this, she clapped her hands and looked at Zhang Xiaobao and praised, "Xiaobao is so smart." Indeed, if we want the Japanese to come over without worry, it has to be someone designated by us. As for how they'll be treated once they arrive in the Great Tang, isn't it still up to your Majesty to decide? We agreed that they would ask for punishment, and the people from the Southwest would be sent back safely. Does Japan have to do the same? Li Longji felt that he had become stupid, so he could only ask Wu Huifei, "Beloved consort, do you know what's going on?" Wu Huifei smiled and said, "Last night, Your Majesty said to this concubine that not everyone in Japan is so obedient to our Great Tang. Even if they're captured this time, some of them will think of ways to prevent our people from going over and taking advantage of us. They'll find all sorts of reasons to delay our arrangements in Japan, and it won't be that easy for our people to move around in Japan. Last night, Your Majesty said more than once that those who are hostile to our Great Tang should come to the Great Tang and take drastic measures against the Japanese. By the time they return, our arrangements will have been made, and they'll be powerless to reverse the situation. We can even keep them in the Great Tang for a year. The rest of them will be much easier to deal with. Isn't that right, big sister? Wu Huifei asked Empress Wang, who had also come over. Empress Wang Weiwei was taken aback, and then she nodded. Yes, Your Majesty has already thought of this. Right now, we're testing Xiao Bao. When Zhang Xiaobao heard this, he didn't need to think too much to understand. Li Longji didn't say anything at all. Wu Huifei had just thought of it, but she gave the credit to Li Longji. It wasn't surprising that Wu Huifei could think of this. She was of that bloodline and was very proficient in scheming. Zhang Xiaobao showed a look of admiration and said to Li Longji, "Your Majesty is still the best. It can be said that you're far-sighted." This subject really didn't think of keeping the Japanese in the Great Tang. I just thought that if they came, we'd have to spend some money and increase the Great Tang's income. Now that Your Majesty has said it, this subject is suddenly enlightened. Your Majesty is indeed extraordinary. This subject has learned a lot. Li Longji sighed helplessly. He really didn't know what to do with Zhang Xiaobao. When other subjects said these words, he could feel that at least there was a trace of sincerity in their words. But when these words came out of Zhang Xiaobao's mouth, he felt like they were mocking him. You didn't think of it? You didn't think of it, so now you're spouting nonsense. This is too much of a coincidence. Okay, Xiaobao, don't continue to belittle us, or else we will punish you. Look at that exaggerated expression of yours. It's too fake. I don't know how so many people were fooled when you opened a braised food store in Hangzhou. This expression of yours doesn't qualify at all. Li Longji waved his hand and interrupted Zhang Xiaobao's disgusting words. At the same time, he also mocked Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao readily agreed. Yes, this subject isn't pretending, but that's because this subject isn't pretending. Everything I say comes from the bottom of my heart. Your Majesty, please test me again. Okay, I'll test you. Tell me, what other reason do you have for having all the people from the southwest come here? We already have a plan in mind. We just want to see if you can think of it. Since Zhang Xiaobao had already said so, Li Longji might as well hit the snake with the pole. It didn't matter how thick-skinned he was. Zhang Xiaobao cooperated and pretended to be deep in thought. After a while, when Li Longji felt that his skin was about to be burnt, he finally said, "This subject isn't sure. It's just a guess. It's like this. In the past, the people of the 6 Zhao in the south were always flirting with Tubo. Now that we're playing with Duoshe and training the troops, it's likely that there will be times when we'll shift our strategy and avoid the enemy's limelight to reduce casualties and try not to meet force with force. So, if some of them feel that an opportunity has come and want to calmly arrange things and play some small tricks, it won't be good. If we call them over now, they won't have time to make any arrangements. At the same time, once they leave their own places, their local people will become active. We'll immediately send people to contact them and foster and divide them. At the same time, it's also an opportunity to win over the local people. Once benefits are given, because they're not in the local area, the people won't think that they're getting benefits because of their relationship. This will reduce their trust in them and affect their status as spiritual leaders. This subject can only think of this at the moment. I don't know if it's right or wrong. Please enlighten me, Your Majesty. Li Longji understood. It turned out that even in such a situation, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan still maintained the necessary caution, not giving the other side any opportunities so that their plan could be carried out smoothly. Yes, very correct. This is what we thought. However, there are still some shortcomings. Think carefully again. What other aspects are there? If we don't plan more, wouldn't it be a waste of our time? Li Longji felt that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan shouldn't have only done this. There must be more, but he couldn't think of anything, so he continued to ask questions. Zhang Xiaobao and Weiwei opened their mouths and frowned slightly. Your Majesty, there's more? No more, right? This subject really can't think of anything else. There is. This emperor's plans are flawless, strategizing and deciding victory from 1,000 li away. How could there not be? If there isn't, Why would I ask you? Li Longji said very roguishly. Ah, there really is. Alright, let me think about it. Your Majesty, your consideration is really too thorough. Your Majesty, it's beyond the reach of ordinary people. I'll think about it, Zhang Xiaobao said helplessly. He looked like he was thinking about something very hard. After thinking for a while, he finally said, "This subject has thought of something else. This subject hopes that your Majesty can point it out. That is, the 6 Zhao were originally not a harmonious group, each with their own interests. Thus, when providing them with assistance, we should do our best to minimize the conflicts and secret struggles between them. This should allow them to focus their energy on the happiness of the people of the world, and not on scheming and plotting against one another. Otherwise, many places would be owned by several tribes, and in the future, the products produced might have to go through other tribes in order to be sent to the Great Tang as quickly as possible. Call them over in advance and give them a heads up. At that time, they will naturally listen to your Majesty's words and not do anything else to delay others. Isn't that right?" After saying all this in one breath, Zhang Xiaobao felt that his throat was uncomfortable, so he poured himself a cup of wine and began to sip it. Li Longji nodded. "Yes, very correct. You've finally guessed a little of our thoughts. Not bad. Continue. This subject truly cannot think of anything else." Your Majesty, why don't this subject go back and ask Cuckoo and see if Cuckoo can cooperate with this subject and guess your Majesty's plans? There is no need to guess all of them. Even 10 or 20% will be enough for this subject to use for a long time. Zhang Xiaobao himself couldn't think of anything else, so he could only find an excuse to leave. He was afraid that Li Longji wouldn't stop asking. Coming up with a plan was already very tiring, and explaining it to Li Longji would be even more tiring. Moreover, Li Longji didn't need to know too much. He just needed to keep up with his train of thought. Li Longji clinked his cup with Zhang Xiaobao's and downed the wine in one gulp. "Since that's the case, you should go back and discuss it with Cuckoo. After you've finished your discussion and guessed our intentions, you can come back. We can give you a reminder. Besides the things you've guessed, there are at least 3 other uses. You must think carefully. There are 3 uses, not 1 less. If you can't think of all 3, don't come looking for us. If we tell you the answer directly, it will be detrimental to your growth. Come, let's continue swimming." Li Longji turned around and walked back into the water. Empress Wang and Wu Huifei naturally followed behind him. Zhang Xiaobao pursed his lips. "Seriously, all I did was disturb you. Is there a need for you to think of 3 more ways to get back at me? You clearly don't want me to disturb you again. Swim, swim, swim. Try your best to interact with your 2 women and start a fire. I'll put laxatives in your food tonight. Let's see what you can do then." Zhang Xiaobao's mood improved after he was done with RQ. He finished the wine in his cup and walked toward Wang Wan in a relaxed manner. He wanted to tell her about Li Longji's shamelessness and treat it as a form of entertainment in his spare time. While Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were in charge of Li Longji entertainment, they sent the decision back to Lu Zhou and asked Li Jianqing to make the decision. They believed that Li Jianqing was capable of handling this matter well. The tone of the message was very firm. It meant that if the people who were called did not show up, they did not need to show up. When the time came, the emperor would personally visit. When Li Jianqing received the news, he felt relieved. Then, he felt anxious again. He did not know what the emperor of Great Tang, Zhang Xiaobao, and Wang Wan were thinking. If they were planning to lure the people here and cut off their heads, it would be troublesome. At that time, the clan would definitely be in chaos. If it was only the death of a clan leader, it wouldn't be a big deal. Chaos would only be within the clan. As long as an external enemy appeared, such as a few other clans joining forces to annex the clan would immediately unite. What he was worried about was that if all the leaders died, the tribes would fall into chaos. Then, there would be continuous annexations and battles in their original territories. However, he had no choice but to come. After all, the people who were sent to cause trouble in Great Tang were caught and their plan failed. Since they had done something wrong, they had to do as they were told. Otherwise, Great Tang's army would arrive soon. Unfortunately, if the people who went to cause trouble were not caught, not only would the invincible status of the Wang and Zhang Xiaobao families in the hearts of the people of Great Tang be shaken, even if Great Tang knew who was the culprit, it would not be able to organize an army immediately. If the people who went to cause trouble were to carry out the plan, it would still cause great damage to Great Tang. Li Jianqing considered the gains and losses and calculated the various consequences. He could not calm down. He ordered his men to rest and return early the next morning. At the same time, he was thinking about who to ask for help. While he was feeling sad, Su Mingyang, who was also helping him receive and send telegrams, ordered a lot of food and wine from Hai Yunjian. This time, they did not have to worry about Hai Yunjian's attitude. Since the madam of the main family had spoken, they did not dare to starve themselves. The food and wine were soon delivered. Su Mingyang invited Li Jianqing to eat with him. To be precise, he planned to drink with him. Today, he could finally let go of one of his worries. As for the rest of the family, they would eat the apology banquet prepared by the Zhang Xiaobao clan. Li Jianqing really did not have any other place to eat. Since he was in contact with Su Mingyang, he felt that they were in the same boat. After happily agreeing to the invitation to drink with him, he drank 3 cups of wine in a row. Then, he had a flash of inspiration and asked Su Mingyang, "Brother Su, I want to ask you something. I wonder if you can tell me? This is very important to Nanzhao. In the future, we will definitely repay you. We will not let you down. We will get more than the people of the Chamber of Commerce from the Zhang Xiaobao family." Li Jianqing thought that since the people of the Chamber of Commerce had received the money, Su Mingyang should be easy to talk to. Moreover, he did not want to inquire about any confidential matters. Who would have thought that after he said these words and told Su Mingyang the tempting conditions, Su Mingyang did not show a happy expression. Instead, he was very vigilant. He lowered his voice and said to Li Jianqing, "I don't dare to accept anything from you. Otherwise, once it is discovered, I still have something to do with it. It is very likely that the things I receive will become my death warrant. It is not easy for you to save up these things. It is better to save them for critical situations. I am not short of money. I appreciate your kindness, but I must warn you, the people of the Chamber of Commerce are not people you can bribe with small gifts. They are all inner court members of the Zhang Xiaobao family. Can't be bribed? If someone has already taken benefits from me and helped me complete the task, Brother Su, do you think it is possible?" Li Jianqing thought of the bribery before. It was very successful. How could he say that it was useless? Su Mingyang heard Li Jianqing's certainty and shook his head with a smile. "Brother Li, you have been fooled. Even if they accept the things you give them, they have to file a record with their main family. They can't keep it and not report it. Otherwise, how many people of the Zhang Xiaobao family have been bribed? Can our Great Tang be as stable as it is now? In fact, even if you don't give the people of the Chamber of Commerce any benefits, as long as you tell them your purpose, they will arrange for you to meet with the madams of the 2 families. That is why they dare to accept the money. If you really give me something and I take it, I also have to give an explanation to the Zhang Xiaobao family. In particular, not only can I not use the things myself, I can't even sell them. I need to wait for His Majesty to come back from his trip and give an explanation to Xiao Bei and the others in the group. Otherwise, not to mention my official position, I will not even be able to keep my life." Chapter 11:21. Su Mingyang's words made Li Jianqing feel a trace of fear. He asked with certainty, "Is that true?" He was still thinking that the inner court of the Zhang family and the Wang family was only a so. They would help with something just because they were given something. It was not like the rumors said that they were stubborn. He thought that as long as they were willing to spend money, there was nothing that could not be done through the people of the Zhang family and the Wang family. Why did the meaning change when it came from Su Mingyang's mouth? Su Mingyang did not even need to ask what Li Jianqing was thinking after he gave the gift. He had already guessed the judgment in Li Jianqing's mind. He shook his head helplessly again and said, "Brother Li, I'm telling the truth. I can guess that the gift you gave to the people of the Chamber of Commerce is worth hundreds of strings of coins or even thousands of strings of coins. Am I right?" Li Jianqing nodded. "Then, do you know how much the person who took your money from the Chamber of Commerce is worth? Let me tell you, it's at least 10,000 strings of coins. Moreover, it's the kind of person who doesn't have much power. If the person took your money and immediately did the thing for you, then his net worth is more than 50,000 strings of coins. Do you think they would care about a little gift from you? There are two more important points. First, once they are found out, not only will they be kicked out of the main family and become free, but they may even be executed by the Zhang family and the Wang family. They still have relatives, and they are all under the protection of the Zhang family and the Wang family. Second, they have their own pride and glory. In their opinion, being able to become the inner court of the Zhang family and the Wang family is like renting a grave and smoking smoke. Not everyone can be the inner court of the Zhang family and the Wang family, and they have to go through layers of selection and continuous tests. Let me tell you this. The few men who followed the madams of the two families today are the inner court. They are the servants of the two families, but they are different from the servants of other families. They are much stronger than me, the provincial governor. Now that I've become the provincial governor, I don't care about Lu Zhou anymore. Even if I do, the Zhang family and Wang family won't care. I've been controlling Lu Zhou's affairs all this while, but I've suddenly stopped. Well then, any one of the men we see will take over my work in a very short time, as short as an hour or two, and nothing else will be delayed. This is the foundation. But they would rather be in the inner courtyard of the Zhang family and Wang family than change positions with me. This is because they can continue to learn from us, and their children in the future will also receive a good education. They actually look down on officials like us who are not outstanding. As Su Mingyang spoke, he drank with all his might, as if he wanted to use the wine to suppress the stuffiness in his heart and get drunk to solve his 1,000 worries. Li Jianqing put down his chopsticks and asked in surprise, "Really? Are the rumors true?" "What rumor?" "Let's drink." Su Mingyang raised his wine cup. It said that Tang has two systems of officials and the military. One is in use, and the other is in the Zhang family and Wang family. The original system can be replaced at any time. Therefore, there is no need to worry that the officials will collectively quit, and there is no need to worry that there is no official to take over when something happens. Li Jianqing told him the rumor he heard. Although it's not entirely true, it's not far from it. If all the officials in Tang quit at the same time, the Zhang family and Wang family are still not strong enough to support them. However, if 60% of the officials quit at the same time, His Majesty will directly kill them, and then ask Xiao Bao and Cuckoo for manpower to fill the vacated positions and support the administration. They don't need to arrange the same number of people for every position. They have people who can do the work of several people. In fact, there are also many idle people in the government. Because of this, many officials in Tang who know the situation now don't dare to threaten the imperial court with their local affairs. It's the same in the military. The only thing I don't know is if the people who can participate in the court session quit at the same time, will the Zhang family and Wang family be able to replace them? After all, there are still many situations where experience is needed. Such a thing has never happened, so I don't know. Just tell me, how can such people be bribed by you? Their pride is in their bones. As for me, I want to accept some bribes, but I don't dare to. Besides, how much can you give me? If I work honestly for a year, I won't get less money. This is the high salary that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo proposed to His Majesty. If an official did a good job, when he finished his position, he would get a sum of money calculated according to how much tax he raised and how the local people lived. It's a shocking amount of money. But at the same time, if he made a mistake, and he did it knowingly, he would get a good punishment. A few days ago, His Majesty issued a decree saying that if an official deliberately cheated and destroyed the local people to raise tax, even if he was promoted, in a few years, if there were problems in his original place, he would be in trouble. Let's stop talking. Let's drink. When winter comes, I'll leave Lu Zhou. Although Lu Zhou is good, it's too suffocating. The people don't treat me as an official at all. When Su Mingyang drank, he obviously became more talkative. Moreover, the frequency of drinking began to increase. It seemed that the wine had no alcohol content. There were complaints, helplessness, and a hint of awe in his voice. Li Jianqing drank a lot as well, and he was a little confused. Suddenly, he remembered that he should not let Su Mingyang get drunk. He still had some things to ask, and he seemed to be in a good state now. Therefore, he did not care if Su Mingyang thought he was dirty. He used his chopsticks to give Su Mingyang a few dishes and said, "Eat the dishes and drink slowly. Otherwise, you can't continue to drink when you are drunk." "Brother Su, do you know that the emperor of your country is here? Did he tell you what he wants from me? I'm worried now, and I can't calm down. I'm worried that the emperor will be angry and send a mighty army. If that happens, the people will have no way to make a living." You eat too. Let me tell you, you are not afraid of His Majesty being angry. What I'm afraid of is that if Cuckoo is angry, His Majesty will be angry. If he wants to beat someone, he will have to discuss it with Cuckoo and Xiao Bao. If they agree, he will beat them. If they don't agree, His Majesty will have to listen to them. After all, they have a bigger plan, and they can't destroy it casually. Cuckoo is different. If she wants to beat someone, Xiao Bao will find a way to support her. Of course, she will not beat them casually. Are you worried that they will beat you? Don't worry, I'm telling you, they won't beat you. Your country is not that important. Moreover, if they really want to fight, Lu Zhou will not be like this now. The provisions have not been gathered yet. How can they fight? If they want to fight you, they will not only need the navy to help them transport the troops, but also an army that is specially adapted to mountain warfare. Although the protection team of the Zhang family and the Wang family can start a war directly, it is not to that extent yet. The protection team is not easy to fight. If they really want to fight you, they will have to transfer the troops again. There has been no transfer of troops recently. Don't be fooled by the fact that the Tang Empire takes turns to guard various places. They are preparing to fight Duo Shi. A few days ago, when I was waiting for His Majesty's news at the place where the telegram is sent and received, I received news that Duo Shi had gathered 2,000 troops. My Tang Empire's troops have probably set off for a few days now. The next day after receiving the news, they must be ready to go. Think about it, will the Great Tang fight on two sides? If it is really a two-sided war, it will be against Japan. It has nothing to do with you. Believe me, especially when the madams of the Zhang family and the Wang family are still waiting in Lu Zhou to give birth to a child. Even if Xiao Bao and Cuckoo want to fight you, they will not come over themselves. It is not good to kill too many people. Besides, they have Xiao Bei and the others. Have you ever seen anyone take care of children in a war? Listen to me. His Majesty has sent back an order. Do what he wants you to do. Don't take any chances. Go back and call your leader of the South Zhao over. As for the other people of the 5 Zhao, if they don't come, they will be in trouble. Drink. Su Mingyang raised his cup again. The wine in the cup had spilled out uncontrollably, but he still tried to send it to his mouth. Li Jianqing really did not know so many things. Seeing Su Mingyang drunk like this, he was afraid that he would be drunk soon and could not ask anything. He quickly stopped the wine that was going to be sent to his mouth and asked, "Brother Su, how do you know so much? Don't they avoid you when the imperial court is fighting?" "Avoid me? Avoid me for what? I didn't betray the interests of the Tang Empire. I offended the Zhang family and the Wang family with my words, but I didn't do anything else. So what if I saw the information? I can't spread it out. If I want to spread it, at least I have to use a telegram, right? Once it is spread, I will be arrested first. Then it's really over. No one can save me. Look, I offended them. I just have to admit my mistake and give in. Everything will be fine and I can eat. The one who's in a bit of trouble is Xiao Bei. When they come back, I have to apologize to Xiao Bei and the others in private. Children need to be coaxed, unlike adults who beat around the bush when talking. But I am not very afraid. It's just that in the past, I always felt embarrassed. Besides, when the telegram was sent and received, I was there to listen to the news. I didn't deliberately inquire about the secret. Also, I can't participate in the decision-making, so I don't know the details. Now I know that the Tang Empire wants to fight Duosha, and Duosha himself knows. As for how to fight, I don't know. After all, I am a third-rank official. A third-rank official can participate in the decision-making of the imperial court. I guess it's because I didn't ask. If I asked, I would ask His Majesty, Xiao Bao, and Cuckoo. They can also tell me some things. I am not stupid. Others may be jealous of people who offend them because of some personal matters, but the Zhang family and Wang family will not kill people. They always give people a chance, and it's fine as long as they grasp it. But if what I do is to harm the Tang Empire, it's over. They will kill people. They are wholeheartedly for the public. Speaking of which, I am not as good as them. Drink, why are you shaking? Drink, don't shake. You are making me dizzy. One of Su Mingyang's eyes couldn't open, and the other was squinting. His body kept swaying, but he didn't see any double images. It was very difficult to see double images with one eye. If that's the case, I will listen to you and go back quickly. Li Jianqing stopped drinking, put down the wine cup, and asked again. Go back, you must go back, the sooner the better. You can't delay. Go back tomorrow, right? I will send you back. Let's drink, haha, the wine of Hai Yunjian. Good, drink. As Su Mingyang spoke, he slid under the table. Li Jianqing hurriedly helped him up and dragged him to the mat at the side. He called out twice, but the response was to continue drinking. He helplessly shook his head, let out a long breath, tidied his clothes, and walked out of the door. He told the people outside that he was leaving, and that he would let Su Mingyang know when he woke up. He said that there was no need to send him off, and that he would leave immediately today. Thus, Li Jianqing left the Wang residence. As the wind blew, he was also confused. He unsteadily gathered his subordinates. He did not care about the change in the order of leaving tomorrow and leaving today. Because his subordinates were not used to the situation, he threw all the things he had prepared to bribe the people of the Chamber of Commerce, and had them pass them to the madams of the Zhang family and Wang family. Then, he gathered his subordinates, prepared food for the journey, and hurriedly left. 5 days after Li Jianqing left, he encountered Li Longji's group on the road. However, he was not in the mood to stop and see the Emperor of Great Tang. He directly greeted the people in the group who came to investigate and continued to rush home at the fastest speed. A few days later, Li Longji, who had not had enough fun, decided to return. It seemed that he could not have enough fun at the seaside during this season. However, he could not delay any longer. He still had not visited the 100,000 mountains. He could visit Luzhou at the seaside in the future, or he could take a stroll on the way back. There were many sceneries in the 100,000 mountains that he had not seen, especially the unique flora and fauna. Seeing them in the capital was not as good as seeing them in person. Xiao Bao, come to me. I have something to ask you. On the way back, Li Longji still liked to sit on the deck at the bow of the ship, enjoying the sea breeze and watching the undulating waves. However, it was drizzling today. He asked someone to set up the shelter and sat down below while he ate spicy soup. It was all seafood. While he was eating, he saw Zhang Xiaobao coming out to check the various spots. Hence, he beckoned him over. A slightly stronger gust of wind swept over with the rain. Zhang Xiaobao shuddered. He rubbed his arms together and walked under the shelter. He sat opposite Li Longji and picked up a piece of squid that Li Longji had boiled for him. He brushed a layer of chili sauce on it and took a bite. The steam from the squid felt good. He looked at Li Longji and waited for him to speak. Li Longji had no choice but to put 2 more skewers of squid into the pot. He looked at Zhang Xiaobao and asked, Xiaobao, what if this thing grows up? Will it capsize the ship? Zhang Xiaobao looked at Li Longji in confusion. He was puzzled. Why was Li Longji suddenly asking about this? However, he nodded and said, "It said that there are some big ones that can capsize the ship. With our current ship, we can't deal with them at all. However, I've never seen one before. In that case, do you think we can train more sea creatures like how we train dogs and eagles? For example, sharks? For example, we can raise more octopuses like the ones we're eating now. When the time comes, we can use them in naval battles." Li Longji gestured as he asked excitedly. Zhang Xiaobao was rendered speechless. He did not expect Li Longji to have such foresight. He continued to nod. "We can raise more sea creatures, but it's best if we raise dolphins. Dolphins are obedient, but they can't be used in naval battles. When Your Majesty mentioned it, I thought of something else. It's military dogs that can be used to bombard the enemy's important places. Unfortunately, the enemy doesn't have tanks. It's a waste to use dogs to bombard the enemy's fortifications. 2 days ago, I heard that something had arrived at Luzhou. I think it's my hand-guided tractor. When we return, I'll show it to Your Majesty. It's fun. It feels good to sit on it." You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.